Welcome to another episode of Pound for Pound Boxing Report. I'm your host, Michael. Joining me this week, Gail Falkethal, Community Digital News, Jay Dill, Mr. Boxing Addict, Sean Newton, joining us live from Taiwan, joining us live from the Caribbean. What you need? What's going on, ladies and gents?
I'm all right.
For those who are new to the Pound for Pound Boxing Report, Pound for Pound Boxing Report is a live YouTube show /blog podcast, that discusses all things boxing. The motto is, when boxing is good, we will talk about it. When boxing is bad, we will talk about it. The bottom line is, if it concerns boxing, we will talk about it. If you want to find information about the Pound for Pound Boxing Report, just check out the blog page, p4pboxingreport.wordpress.com is the link. On there you will find not just articles and videos and whatnot done by yours truly, but also articles written by Gail Falkenthal, as well as Kayla M. Lewis on Twitter, KBC Live on YouTube and G+. If you look to the right of the blog page, you will find links to where to find the Pound for Pound Boxing Report all over social media, all over the interwebs, if you will. The 2 pages on G+, the Facebook page, the Tumblr page, the Twitter page at P4P Boxing Report on Twitter, the YouTube page where you can find all episodes of the live YouTube show, the Podomatic page where you can find all previous episodes of the podcast, the Pinterest board, the RSS feed if you want to subscribe to that, Stitcher Radio, where you can find us on Stitcher Radio. Just go to StitcherRadio.com and just look up Pound for Pound Boxing Report. That's POUND, the number 4, POUND Boxing Report. Be a friend, be a pal, be a buddy. Check us out on Stitcher Radio and write a review. Tell us what we're doing good with the show and how we can improve with the show. Also, a link to donate your account. DonateYourAccount.com/P4P Boxing Report is the link. What happens is, any tweet that comes from the Pound for Pound Boxing Report Twitter page, should you donate your Twitter account, you will be able to retweet any tweet that comes from the Pound for Pound Boxing Report Twitter page. Also got the link for the email address, p4pboxingrpt@gmail.com. And lastly, we're on Flipboard Magazine right now. Just look up Pound for Pound Boxing Report on Flipboard. Again, POUND, the number 4, POUND Boxing Report, where you can find links and uploads and articles and whatnot done by yours truly, as well as Gail. So there you go. All links to where to find the Pound for Pound Boxing Report all over the interwebs, if you will. Let's get the show started doing a recap of what went down last week. Headline bout, of course, is PBC on NBC. Main event, Keith Thurman scoring a 8th round TKO over Luis Collazo. Thurman was in control for the most part, boxing from the outside, and shots up and down on Collazo. But Collazo had his moment in round 5 when he hurt Thurman badly with a straight left to the body, had Thurman running from the rest of that round, but he recovered in round 6, began to regain control in 6-7. But strangely, Collazo, he quit right before the 8th round. Strangely quit. I still don't understand why he quit, and Thurman got the decision, got the TKO win. Afterwards, he called out Mayweather. But before we go to the future of Thurman, we'll talk about the fight itself. Start with you, Gail, ladies. Your impressions of the fight and the moment in which Thurman was hurt. Your thoughts on that?
He was rocked. You know, that body shot was very effective against Keith Thurman. If I'm anybody who's got any desire to get in the ring with Thurman as an opponent in the future, I look at that and think, that is something I am going to take in as some intelligence and, you know, practice my bodywork skills, because that was very effective against him. If I'm getting in the ring with him next, I'm going right back there. I don't know why Collazo didn't try to finish him off in that way and continue to go to the body when he knew he was vulnerable. I don't know if that was a mental lock, if you know, that had been a lucky shot and he just couldn't get back there. I don't know what the issue was. But yeah, he ends up quitting on the stool between rounds. Admittedly, he had some pretty bad cuts. He did. But, you know, they weren't horrible. Following the fight, I commented via Twitter that, yeah, Collazo quit in his stool, but this guy didn't. This guy being a photo I posted of Chris Algieri after Ruslan Provodnikov got done with him. So you see that, massive black mass on Algieri's face and say, okay, that guy managed to finish a fight. And we've seen other guys in that condition finish a fight. And Algieri said, hey, after the second round, I could barely see. And yet Collazo stops. Now, of course, other than that great fifth round, Collazo hadn't done much else. He was definitely behind on the scorecards because obviously, we know what that was all about. Collazo must have decided, hey, I can't catch up on the scorecards. I don't think I can do enough damage to put him on the canvas or stop the fight, so I'm done. I think that was a very calculated move on his part to just say, hey, I've done my bit. My chances of winning are very slim, and I'm not in it.
Unmute your mic, Jadil. The next question is going to you. I want your thoughts on what went down in Tampa with Thurman and the stoppage of Collazo and the fact that he quit. Unmute your mic, Jadil, if you're around.
It was a good fight after round 3. Collazo was doing good countering attack. Whatever Thurman was throwing, a lot of shots Thurman was throwing, arms and elbows, but some right leads were getting in. But he couldn't really jab going because of what was reported by the Atlas about his left hand probably being sprained. But the jab not really working for Thurman really made this fight a little bit more difficult for him. But overall, Collazo was able to time him and be able to take the lead, and eventually he's good feigning, had good balance, set up shots, body to head attack, and eventually in the fifth round we saw something that could have possibly changed the fight. But the bell rung just right on time for one time in the sixth round. We saw how much grit Thurman had. He going against to the point where Collazo was getting stung. Then the seventh round, more of the same, but Collazo seemed like he was strong. It looked like he was taking away his will, and then it was the RTD, which is he retired on the school. And I don't know what was going on. I don't know if the reason of it or not, but hey, if you're gonna quit, then quit. But, it was a good fight. I actually had Collazo giving Keith Thurman the fight. I said last year to people in my inner circle that Collazo could beat Thurman. But I was wrong. But Keith Thurman showed me how tough he was, how durable he was, how he could recover from such a shot to that liver shot. But, overall, Keith Thurman needs to work on his balance. Needs to stop using unnecessary movement to come in, telegraph his shots. And he needs to tuck his chin in a little bit more. He needs to work on his clinch a little bit better. But overall, good performance by both guys. Good fight. And I can't wait to see what Keith Thurman does next. Now for Collazo, this round on the pecking order, he had a not so good second against Khan, but a decent second against Thurman, but they're both losses, so he might have to go down for some more competition until he gets some. So, well, with Keith Thurman, I like to see him fight either Sean Porter or Kell or get another touch-up fight, until he fights one of those guys. Hopefully, he fight Kell in October. That's the fight I'm looking forward to.
You mentioned Kell Brook. Eddie Hearn this week said that that Kell Brook is open for a unification bout with Keith Thurman. I'm gonna go to you. What you need, and then you can follow up, Sean. In assessing this fight, was Thurman exposed a bit from a technical standpoint, or were you more impressed by how he was able to recover after getting hurt in the 5th round with that body shot? Your thoughts, what you need.
Technically speaking, I don't think he was exposed. I think that basically Luis Collazo caught him with a really good body shot. Before that, he caught him with a spleen shot. He was closing the distance, getting to him a little closer. And then after that liver shot, he was able to land, I think, 2 more liver shots to Keith Thurman later on in the round as it was coming to an end. He really worked that area when he saw Keith Thurman got hurt by it. But in the following round, Keith Thurman did an adjustment. I don't know if anybody noticed the adjustment that he made, and that's why Luis Collazo, after that round, couldn't hit him to the body again. Keith Thurman made an adjustment. So no, I don't.
With his hands, yeah, he did with his hands.
Yep, and also with his movement, he changed up some things. But I'm not gonna say what they are. I'll just leave that at that. And so, no, I think Keith Thurman has a lot of dimensions to him. In fact, in the 2nd round, he started fighting off the back foot. His coach wanted him to come forward on Collazo, but Thurman was realizing Collazo, his upper body movement was just a little too slippery and a little too difficult for him. And Collazo comes in with a stance somewhat kind of like Floyd. You know, he comes side on at you, and then he can move his upper body different ways. And he doesn't use a lot of foot movement at times. He uses a lot of pivots, but I mean, what I mean by foot movement, he doesn't move as much. Like Keith Thurman was walking all around the ring, using the entire distance. Collazo was closing the distance, but he was keeping his distance. So it was good stuff. No, I think there are more aspects to Keith Thurman's game. I didn't get to see enough of his inside game, but I like how he spaces out. Like if a guy tries to come on the inside, how he steps back and pivots and then counters. It's really sweet to watch. So there are a number of different things I could say, but I wouldn't say right now. Suffice it to say, I think it was a good shot Collazo caught him with. He was closing the distance. Keith Thurman was trying to sidestep him a lot and keep that distance, but Collazo was able to be slippery, get past those shots, and counter him on the inside. And I think that spleen shot, you know, in round 5 and in round 4 and 3, I saw Collazo land 2 body punches. In fact, he started countering Keith like how Keith was countering him with a counter left hook, counter straight lefts, and that's how I knew. And the tables turned in round 2, I think, when Collazo realized, this is what Keith Thurman got to show me. All right, cool, I'm gonna walk him down. So I saw Collazo do that, and then Keith Thurman made an adjustment in round 6, and Collazo, when he tried to walk in, Keith Thurman would feint to the body, go to the head. You know, and that's what kept on catching Collazo.
Let me follow up. What I mean by technical flaws, see, the thing I notice about Keith Thurman, he's not much of an inside fighter. You talk about the adjustments he made. He did that on the outside with his hands and feet. He could have stood there in the pocket more and done some things with his hands and with his body position to avoid getting hit with those shots without moving on the outside. And the fact that his automatic reaction was to move a different direction and to keep his hands out more. Like so, that tells me that makes me question his ability to really fight on the inside. And when he moves up and fight a higher level competition, like a Brook or maybe an Errol Spence, they maybe can expose him for that.
No, not really, because there's something you're not really you weren't seeing that I'll point out. He was fighting Collazo when Collazo tried to come on the inside, but Keith Thurman makes space. He pivots, he makes space to get leverage on his punches, to get the power in his punches. So Collazo was pressing him to get on the inside, but Keith Thurman would keep on pivoting on him. I don't know if you guys were noticing the pivots he was using. He was, yes, using a lot of, and at a certain point in time he actually ran, but it's a pivot that he uses to get out of the way, and then he moves from there. So what he did to create space, he would pivot, you understand? And on the pivot, he's getting that leverage to throw the punch. So he gets kind of like what Bitter Beef sometimes does. He creates that little distance by stepping to the side, not backwards, but to the side of you. So he can get the leverage to hit you with the punch. You see what I'm saying? Keith Thurman don't step straight back. He steps at an angle to get that shot off on you because he wants to counter punch you. You get what I'm saying? So that's how he was able to wear down Collazo when he really started to give him a pounding in round 7. If you notice, Collazo went back to his corner. So there's some technical things that I think people are not grasping that Keith Thurman does in there. It's a lot more complex than it looks. And there's another thing. Yeah, his inside game, he doesn't get as much leverage on his shots. I saw him fight a little bit on the inside with Collazo. Not much leverage. I saw him fight on the inside with Guerrero. He borrowed some stuff from Floyd. He would use that counter right uppercut on the inside. He'd catch and shoot. But for the most part, he still has to develop that inside game in a certain way. But he has a style which, you know, it's not as easy as you think it is, you know, to trap him on the ropes and so on, because he has a way of using those pivots. It's the pivoting that I notice in his style that's kind of, it'll fool you, you know, and you'll get counterpunched.
I'll go to you, Sean, and then you can follow up Boxing Addict. Talk about the fight, but also Jay Dill mentioned who he would like to see in the future. I know after the fight, Thurman, he called out Mayweather. We know that fight is not going to happen now. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But talk about the fight itself first, Sean, and you, Boxing Addict, and talk about who would you like to see Thurman in the ring. I know Dill, he mentioned Brooke, he mentioned some other fighters, but Errol Spence, he's been talking very greasy about Thurman. Your thoughts?
Well, let's get the elephant out of the room. Why is Floyd ducking Thurman? He's mandatory. But that'll come out later. Thurman, you know, I mean, people are quick to criticize him, especially people who are Floyd fans, because they want to discredit him so that they can justify their own agenda. Thurman did what he needed to do. I mean, he adjusted. He beat the guy. He got hit, but he showed great heart taking it, not taking a knee, not dropping. You know, he shows what he needs to show to be a champion. The ability to adjust, the ability to take anything that comes his way, and to get the victory. The same qualities that Floyd showed throughout his career that he's given so much props for. Getting hit, getting hurt, but being able to deal with it. You know, winning fights, but not looking great doing it, but doing what he needs to do to get the victory. I mean, Thurman is doing that. So we need to see him step up, obviously, in caliber. I mean, you know, before this fight, we're all questioning a fight with Collazo, but I mean, okay, so you need to stay busy, you need to stay in the gym, you need to get fights under your belt. Collazo is a veteran, you know, a two-time champion. You know, I mean, he's an experienced fighter on his downside, but I mean, some things to offer, which he showed. I mean, he showed that, you know, he had the ability to land shots when he needed to. It's too bad he didn't use a jab to try to cut off the ring a little more and sort of put a little more pressure on Thurman. It's too bad that he quit when it looked like he could hurt Thurman, and if he would have pushed a little harder, who knows what would have happened. But that was that. You know, Thurman got what he needed to get, a win. My question is, how come the fight didn't go to the cards based on the cut? Because the cut came from a headbutt. I don't understand why it was like a TKO victory. But nonetheless.
Because Collazo proactively quit.
Yeah.
Because the doctor leaned in, looked at him.
And he asked him how he was doing, and Collazo basically said, "I can't see."
Yeah.
He basically conceded the fight. Excuse me, phone issues.
His trainer his trainer didn't say, you know, come on, you pussy, keep going. But he, you know, the way his trainer asked the question was, you know, kind of the, well, are you sure? How bad is it? And Collazo's response was, well, all I'm saying is I can't see. And at that point, the physician, you know, looks at Jack Reese, the referee, and Reese is like, or was that Reese? No, I'm trying to think who the referee was. Anyway, because Reese had to stop the other fight, which we'll get into on another cut issue, due to headbutts. And so, you know, once Collazo says, well, you know, I can't see, once the fighter says something like that, it's, you know, a referee and a physician, if they're responsible, are going to stop it, and they did.
Let's bring Boxing Addict into this. Your thoughts on the Collazo win, and what do you see future-wise for Keith Thurman, Boxing Addict? Unmute your mic, please.
Okay, yeah, I think Thurman's getting a lot of grief unnecessarily here, actually. Okay, he got hit by a good body punch, and he looked in trouble. And, you know, fighters going in with him in the future can take heart from that, I think. But essentially, I thought Thurman was good. He was effectively counter-punching. Obviously, the fight was stopped on the cut, which was disappointing. But Collazo didn't want any more of it. Collazo's about done now. And he made a decision that he couldn't carry on. I think he personally could have carried on, but we're not in there fighting, and if his eyes closed, his eyes closed. So yeah, I think Thurman I still highly rate Thurman. I'd like to see him in there with. I mean, if the Brook fight can come off, that'd be huge. Probably the two sort of best contenders outside of Mayweather, really. So I'd like to see those two go at it. Whether it will
That's a
happen.
pick'em fight. That's a pick'em fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, tough one to call that. But Thurman has shown that he can be hurt now. So people even people like Amir Khan could think, he knocked Maidana down with a body punch, if you remember. He's capable of, stopping somebody. So yeah, there's some good fights out there for him. The Errol Spence thing's been kicking off quite a bit, hasn't it? He's been saying quite a lot. But I'm not too sure about that situation as to whether Thurman's interested in that or whether Spence deserves a fight with him, to be honest.
I'm going to go to you on the next fight. Jay Dillon, mute your mic, please, brother. Talk about Willie Nelson, his upset over Tony Harrison on the undercard of Thurman Collazo. Nelson scored a 9th round TKO. Harrison, a hot prospect out of Detroit, undefeated guy. There was a lot of pub about him being a potential world champion at junior middleweight. Close fight. It was a closer fight than the scorecards were, on my opinion, on one scorecard at least. How can I put this? I felt that even though Harrison was winning early, you could tell that he was going to be in trouble in this fight. And by the 6th, 7th round, you can see he was starting to tire. And you can also see that Nelson, his confidence was building, and he got to him. He basically caught him with that one shot in the 9th round that took him out. Your thoughts, Jay Dill, unmute your mic, on Nelson's win upset, I should say, over the young prospect Harrison. If you're around, Jay Dill, unmute your mic.
I have to say my only issue with what Harrison was doing was he kept coming in with his head forward straight, which Nelson could counter with lunging hooks, or he could lead with his right hand. He was adjusting that in the later rounds and stuff. Also, Nelson was starting to get more fluidity with his jab in the later rounds and create more space from mid-range inside a little bit, letting Harrison come in so he could throw a hook to the body or uppercut to the body and then just step back. But Harrison did a lot of pivoting, just step back to the side and stuff, and try to come back in, lunge in, throw a combination shot here and there. Harrison's activity is pretty thorough. He'll throw comments here and there, and some of it was missing. But the fight was very close. I didn't have the first 3 rounds to Harrison. Those some swing rounds. I would have the first round for Harrison, the second round for Nelson, third round Nelson, fourth round Nelson. But the fight was a lot closer than it was. But Nelson just started wearing him down, timing him a little bit better, and shots had more purpose than what Harrison was throwing. And eventually, Nelson, one shot that he timed pretty well. Once Harrison came on the inside with his head coming forward, he perfectly. That stunned Harrison. Harrison didn't have no more legs, and there's murder she wrote. It was a good fight. I enjoyed it. Pretty big guys for 154 of transitional weight. They need to be middleweights or super middleweights at that height and that size. But I enjoyed the fight, and I wouldn't mind seeing these guys go at it again. They work well against one another. Instead of 10 rounds, I like to see 12 rounds. But entertaining fight, good card, and I'm really impressed by Willie Nelson since I last saw him against Matt Rosen, even though he had a good showing in that fight. But this fight, he showed me some of his maturity. He could adjust. and he's finally using his jab to set up his offense, and he needs to keep fighting tall to win more of his fights, and he'll dominate that division if he does. But his chin's a bit shaky, his legs always weak, but if he could just fight the way he needs to fight, use his size advantages like he should, great. But
Yeah,
he's just a offensive fighter. But overall, I enjoyed it, and just let me discuss about the fight, the breakdown.
we got two follow-up questions. A lot of folks are accusing Harrison of being a tad bit overconfident, a little too cocky coming in. J. Dill, do you think that was the case, or was just that? Do you think that was the case? In a second follow-up question, you mentioned the future of Willie Nelson, 6'3", 154-pound guy. What future does he have in the junior middleweight division?
Unless he fighting some Charlos, and those type of guys, he really has no business being in that division. But I think it's because he has weak legs and stuff like that. I don't think his power would translate in upper divisions. I think that's where he's fitting in, but he's not dominating none of these fights. And his style is fan friendly, but he's very beatable because his defense is porous, his offense is good, but that's all he is. He's like a better version of Paul Williams. Gets hit less, but
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, you're right. Good comparison.
yeah.
Um,
So, but overall, he ain't got Paul Williams' chin. But I will say that his future in 154. I like to see him fight a guy like a Lara. I want to see him fight a Kirkland. I want to see him fight Chris Pearson. I want to see him him. Let's see Mel Charlo. I want to see him against Andrade again. First, I just want to see this guy fight. Period. He's exciting to watch at 154. So yeah, Willie
yeah,
Nelson on the Nelson train, win or lose.
yeah, absolutely. He gives a good show regardless of whether he wins or loses. I'm gonna go to you. What you need. Your impressions of the fight. I know Sean in the chat here in the private chat was basically had kind of a different opinion from Jay Dill and myself. He had in his eye, he feels that Harrison was winning handily until he basically got caught with a lucky punch. Your thoughts on how the fight went down? What you need?
Well, I did a video on it. Basically, the veteran fighter there was Nelson. And if people can recall, just recently Nelson fought Vanes Martirosyan. And that was a close fight. Okay, Vanes took it over in the later halves of the fight. This is a veteran fighter, so he had very decent defense, very decent with that high guard defense. And while the busier fighter was Harrison, the more effective fighter throughout this fight was Nelson. Did you notice the body punching that Nelson landed, those uppercuts to the body?
Yeah, yeah.
That was wearing down the younger fighter. Everything that Nelson was doing was strategic, and he was wearing down the younger fighter. And the younger fighter, of course, he never went past 8 rounds. And he said, Willie Nelson himself said, I'm taking him into deep water and I'm going to drown him. And true to form, Willie Nelson was landing those uppercuts and overhand rights on the younger Tony Harrison, who, by the way, is a great young fighter. He will rebound from this fight, but he has some technical things he has to adjust, I think. But the veteran fighter, the contender, was able to beat the prospect. This is basically what happened because the prospect was inexperienced. I think Tony Harrison's attitude going into this fight, he expended a lot of energy in the pre-fight conference. He also thought he was going to stop Harrison, and Harrison came prepared for that. I think he's training with Victor Conte, so he's a lot stronger than he used to be, and he used proper mechanisms to lose weight, same mechanism that Sean Porter is using right now to lose weight. They did it right. They did it properly. And so he came in there strong and willing to go the whole 12 rounds. Good guard to protect his chin, good high guard, and then the half guard defense, as well as he would move onto the side-on stance, roll punches, and counter. I think he was countering the younger Harrison a lot more. And the last thing I got to say on this is that the young Harrison gave him a lot of good looks. He had great offense, even though most of his offense was hitting guards and being countered. The younger Harrison, on the other hand, his inexperience, I think, cost him this fight. He didn't understand distance control. He wasn't supposed to take some of those body shots he was getting hit with. And then the Detroit style does not cater for overhand rights and left hooks to the head. You have to distance control. You have to pull yourself back or snap back or get out of the way, jump back, because he didn't. Even though he uses sometimes the high guard, he doesn't use it as a habit. His hands are usually low. So because he doesn't rock back and then roll the shoulder,
Right.
he can get countered over the shoulder.
He does a poor job of parrying punches.
Yeah. So that's his own thing, and this was something that Thomas the Hitman Hearns was also vulnerable to. But suffice it to say that he's still a very good fighter. He just has to respect distance, be more cautious. Be more cautious. He was too aggressive, and I think sometimes confidence can work against you, and I think that's what he was winning the fight, in my opinion, because he was the more active fighter, and he was landing some punches. But the more effective fighter, the guy who knew why he was landing, what he was doing in there, was Nelson. And he broke him down in the 7th round. If you notice, he hurt him real bad and drained him of some more energy with those left uppercuts to the body. And in the 8th round, he had practiced that right hand left hook on Harris twice. And then he finally got the execution when he pivoted him and he went into it. I think it was one right hand, one left hook, and then a right hand that put him down. So.
Okay, Gail, Boxing Addict, I'm going to skip you in terms of discussion about this bout because we're running for time and we got a lot of topics to discuss. So I'm going to go to Sean. I mentioned what he was saying in the chat. I'm going to unmute your mic, Sean. We'll give you some time to explain yourself and what you were saying in the chat.
Hi.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that, this fight went exactly the way people predicted it would, majority of people. Thinking the young prospect with more skills was going to have his way, was going to dictate the rounds. The only question they had about him is because the way he was brought along, he'd never sort of been stepped up properly and hasn't had enough rounds against quality opposition, if he would be able to tough it out. And in this case, I mean, the veteran guy did what he needed to do. He got lucky and caught him, and the guy wasn't able to adjust, didn't know how to deal with getting hurt, and the fight was stopped because he just was totally out of it. I mean, if he was a veteran and had fought tougher fights coming along, and somebody mentioned in one of the videos, they questioned his sparring as well, because, I mean, not being able to deal with getting hit. In sparring, if he had good sparring, then he would have been used to it more. So he would be more familiar with how to deal with it, which he didn't really look like he was, turning his back, going to the corner, and giving the ref the out that he needed to call the fight. I mean, I think it's a shame because for Harrison, this could really break his confidence because, he's a really confident fighter, which is why a lot of people are giving him slack because they think he was overconfident with a lot of the stuff he was doing prior to the fight. And we'll see how he bounces back. He's a skilled fighter, and I thought he was going to win, and I was impressed with the way he was doing it, but yeah, his lack of experience did hurt him.
I kind of disagree. He can recover from this. He's young enough. If his trainer's good, if he has good corner work, they can show him where he went wrong. Get him a couple more fights to get his confidence back. I would like to see a rematch with these two, to Jay Dill's point, because I think he could beat him in a rematch.
But, what happens in a lot of these cases with rematches is he's been knocked out. So then coming into this fight, he's going to not have the confidence that he had going into the first fight. He's going to be worried that he won't be able to go 10 rounds and that the same thing is going to happen to him again. So, this rematch, they can't do what they did to Price in the UK, rush him back to something like that. They need to give him 2 or 3 fights with.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Give him just 2, 3 fights some more maybe 4 fights, but 2 or 3 at least, just to give him his confidence back and teach him some technical things, because to what you need's point, there were some technical aspects of Harrison defensively more than anything else that he needs to improve on, because he got hit with shots that he should not have got hit with, both to the head and to the body.
But 2 to 3 fights from now, you know, Willie Nelson's not going to be fighting in the same weight class, and he might not even be relevant, because now he's going to step up and he's going to get beat, which has always been his problem. So, you know, I don't really see him being relevant in like 2 or 3 fights.
I'd love to see Nelson versus Bunrich. That's a good fight.
Bondrich is more busy, so he'll probably beat him.
But Bondrich can't fight. He's right, but Bondrich can't fight inside a lick. Not a lick.
Could be a good fight.
If I was Nelson, I'd go right to him, because Bondrich can't fight at all on the inside. Not at all.
Problem with Nelson is he just doesn't push hard enough, unlike the comparison with Paul Williams. Paul Williams didn't stop throwing punches, threw 1,000 punches a fight. And this guy, he stands right in front of you. He's not as busy as he should be. And he looks like he's getting outfought in every fight he's in, because he's just not busy enough.
Yeah, he counterpunch. He's a counterpuncher.
His high
He
guard
covers
is
up and then counterpunches.
blocking a lot of stuff, but I mean, it doesn't make him look effective. It makes the other guy look effective. So,
Absolutely. Let's move on. I'm going to go to Gail and then Boxing Addict to talk about this fight with Mauricio Herrera, who's been one of the more hard-luck guys in the sport over the last 3-4 years. Fought Hank Lundy Saturday on HBO Latino. Got a fifth, kind of incomplete fight, because the fight was stopped in the 5th round due to cuts over Herrera's eye. Close fight, in my opinion, up to that point. Back and forth in rounds as far as I'm concerned, but Herrera, the boxing guys were on his side this time as he got the technical win. Go to you on this one, Gail, and then you can follow up Boxing at it. Your impressions on this bout, as brief as it was.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was a hot mess. You know, the bottom line is it was a mess. It was a messy fight. It was filled with headbutts, some nasty cuts on Herrera, and finally Jack Reese, the referee, kept pulling Herrera over, position looking at him repeatedly every time he got cut, and the cuts did come in extremely close to the inside of the eye, which can be a dangerous area, and were so far down there were flaps of skin starting to hang.
Yeah.
It was nasty. I mean, you know, as cuts go, they were, you know, among the nastier I've seen, when you're starting to see pieces of flesh sort of hang. Herrera's a tough son of a bitch. I mean, he's a Mexican, okay? He is like Collazo, who's a Puerto Rican who quit on the stool. He was going to keep fighting until someone held him down and stopped him. And that's what finally had to happen. But he's very lucky, they scored the incomplete 5th round as a full round. They gave it a full score, because Herrera did win the 5th round, and that's what gave him the edge in the fight. Otherwise, it would have been a draw, and one of the judges did score a draw, which was interesting. A 5-round fight, I'm thinking, how the hell did you score that a draw? There were no knockdowns in the fight, so I'm still scratching my head over that one. But in this case, Herrera got a narrow victory. He did deserve it. I think that you could make a case for a rematch, but I think he'd get the same mess all over again, so I don't really know what point there is to that. Herrera is lucky that he got this one, but, you know, it was kind of karmic payback, because he absolutely got robbed in his last 2 fights. And we'll see what he can pull out next. It was a little unsatisfying from a performance standpoint, just because it was so messy, and it really took Herrera, you know, some time to get his motor running, and it almost cost him.
Your thoughts, Boxing Addict, on this technical win by Herrera, which sets him in line for a shot against Terrence Crawford down the road.
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you, I didn't see it, and I'm kind of quite glad I didn't. It sounds horrible.
Yeah, you didn't miss anything. True, trust me.
Lots of blood, man. Lots of blood.
Yeah, but I'm very pleased that Herrera got the win. Like Gail was saying, obviously he's been on the wrong end of a couple of bad decisions there. So, you know, he's got the win, and for Lundy, I don't know where he goes from there, really. Sort of threw the Delorme fight away, didn't he? And he's been beaten again now. So, yeah, I'm not sure what he does from now. But hopefully Herrera can get that big fight, yeah.
J. Bill, what you need, Sean, any thoughts on this bout?
Well, all I gotta say is pretty much, this fight was close. I like how aggressive Lundy got at times. I didn't like how he'll just hold the back of your head and throw constant punches and uppercuts, and then Reese back him off, and Herrera just be like, "Come on, man, you see this? He grabbing the back of my head," and then all of a sudden, dude just Lundy just said, "What are you talking about?" And then Reese said, "Hey, stop that shit." And then, Reese,
you can cuss, bro. You don't have to spell it out, bro.
But, the point is, man, the stuff I like what Herrera was doing, he was setting up his jab, to throw hooks at Lundy, like jab to the body, hook to the chin, or just jab to the body, jab to the head, to set up combinations, set up spacing, and then step back, and then Lundy would do his thing coming in. It was the tactical battle. I enjoyed it at first, but I was feeling bad that Herrera's face was getting scarred up like that from all them headbutts, and Lundy knew what he was doing. But veteranship right there, with southpaw and or orthodox style. But overall, does this deserve a rematch? Yeah, because I didn't like how Donaire and Vallejca ended, and one guy had to lose his title. So even though this wasn't a title bout, I hate this about boxing, where after 4 rounds, somebody gets a cheap victory. I call this type of stuff cheap victories, despite the injuries and the cuts and all that stuff. I can understand if somebody's getting a butt whooped and it's not competitive, then the headbutt makes the dominant guy have a bad cut, and all of a sudden the ref got to stop it. Then I could see it, but either way, I'm not going to contradict myself. I don't like this rule. I don't like stop the fight after so many rounds and then score and this guy wins. No, just have a no contest, plain and simple. That's how I look at it. If the fight ain't going to get complete, or the guy didn't quit, or the other guy didn't quit, then have a no contest. Unless, it's a thorough beatdown or something. There's got to be better rules than this to establish for boxing. Matter of fact, I should make a video of it. But anyways, that's my opinion. Yes, I want to see a rematch. Yes, I hope Lundy fights a little bit better, more craftier, and Herrera, I want to see if he could dominate Lundy and outbox. I have questions for this fight now.
I just don't think we're going to get much different of an outcome. I think we could just roll the video back, replay it, and that's going to be just a longer version of the same thing. I really don't think we're going to get anything different, which is, for my criteria, a rematch means don't bother me. The one thing I failed to mention that I was irritated with Herrera about, he did a lot of posturing and catcall, trash talking, and come on at me, standing around with Lundy, and I don't like that, especially if you aren't really dominating a fight. He didn't really dominate. He won by the narrowest of margins. So I don't want to see that crap anymore. I don't want to see that shit anymore either.
And given how he was robbed in his last 2 fights, he had no reason to do that. He should have been out and fighting with real force, with real fire, with real initiative. You don't give, given what he's been through, you don't give referees the opportunity to take anything away from you in that regard. Join us live. Go ahead, Gail, go ahead.
Well, the behavior really surprised me. I've never seen him do that before. There are guys that pull those stunts all the time. I mean, if you're Adrian Broner, I expect it. I don't expect it from Mauricio Herrera. It was very odd to me. I don't know if it was the audience, if it was the TV, being the main event. I don't know what it was. But he needs to drop that bad habit fast.
Oh, it was a fight. It's a fight, you know. So these guys, you know, Lundy was talking the talk, so Herrera was like, "All right, well, bring it now, bro."
Well, he was saying bring it. He wasn't bringing it. You know, I don't want you to talk. I want you to.
Well, that's what he's saying. He said, "I'm not afraid of you, bro. That's all you got." You know, so it's a fight, man. You know, I like all that stuff. I like that these guys in there, they mean what they mean. And Herrera was really, I thought he was handling Lundy. I gave him 3 out of the first 4 rounds actually. Lundy was coming back in the 5th, but really Herrera was the one tagging him up. He just doesn't have the power like Lundy does. But
right.
But here's something I want to ask. What do you think of Lundy versus Provodnikov and Herrera versus Matisse?
I think Matisse would kill him. I tell you what's really interesting, and in fact,
you do realize Herrera fought Provodnikov, right?
Yeah.
But Matisse is more.
Matisse is more snot out of each other.
Matisse is more diverse than Provodnikov, though.
Yeah, but Provodnikov has one speed. He's very predictable. Everyone's starting to figure him out, which is why he's got problems right now. But have you seen him lately? That guy weighs 165 pounds right now. For Provodnikov, he was at the fight ringside. He and Maidana have been going out to eat together or something, or him and Broner. Those guys are all like completely porked up. It's amazing. Those guys. I'll tell you what. Provodnikov is big enough that he could make 147 and fight Thurman at this point.
You know what's cool? If Lundy tries to butt Provodnikov, Lundy gets his head busted open because Provodnikov's head is hard, man.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that won't work with Provodnikov, and they both got power, so I say put Lundy against Provodnikov.
Lundy is not consistent enough. He's not consistent enough.
Well, we know Provodnikov going to bring it. So if he's not consistent enough, he will get knocked out.
If Provodnikov is on his A game, Lundy could be in trouble because he's not consistent enough. He's not consistent enough with the jab. He's not consistent enough being a boxer. He's bipolar in that regard.
That's why I love to see that fight. That's a great fight. I want to see what Lundy would do because we know they both have power. So last man standing.
Well, seriously, go look some photos up of Provodnikov from last weekend, and you'll say, "Damn, what have you been having for dinner?" How many? You know, he's been eating a lot of Argentine steaks or something. I mean, whoa! I don't know what's going on there.
Joining us live right now is Taisha Lacey.
Let me quit.
Go ahead, J. Dale. Go ahead before I go on. Go ahead. What you got something to say?
Roberto Duran's son. If it's about them steaks, no, let me quit.
I'd love to see Herrera versus Matisse for the vacated Danny Garcia's vacated title. That'd be a good one.
I'd watch that. I
would too. I was gonna say joining us live right now is Taisha Lacey. You should have been on the ladies' show. Let me say that right now. You would have fit right in live last week. But thanks for joining us. We're gonna get to you, but we're gonna go to this next fight, and I'm gonna go to Sean because this is right up our wheelhouse. We're gonna talk Donnie Nietes, who defeated former strawweight kingpin Francisco Rodriguez Saturday night by unanimous decision. Nietes, he looked very good. The more I see him, the more I see that he's one of the more complete fighters in the game, Sean. He's a guy. What you need always talks about range and distance and diversity. That is Nietes, Sean. He can fight. He can fight. He's not tall, but he's a guy who can fight inside in the pocket and counter you and not get hit. He can fight in the mid-range and connect with the jab and counter you. And he can also fight outside on the move at angles. Talk about his win over Rodriguez. He faded a tad bit in the later rounds, but he was still dominant throughout. But talk about his win over Rodriguez and talk about the future of Nietes. There's rumors that he may be in line for a possible shot at Roman Gonzalez. Do I think he can beat Roman Gonzalez right now or Estrada? No. But of that lot at 108, 112 range, he is the guy who can give either Gonzalez or Estrada his toughest fight, clearly.
Yeah, no, I mean, he looked great on the weekend. I mean, he fought a tough guy who brought it, showed skills, and, you know, he was dominating the fight. And a lot of it was subtle, as you mentioned. You know, picking his range, being able to fight inside.
And let me, excuse me, a big guy in Rodriguez who looks like he's ready to move up to 112 right now.
Yeah. Yeah, which, I mean, might be one of the reasons why they did it, right? I mean, he's a former champion.
Minimum weight champion. Unified minimum weight champion.
And, you know, you get him in with a bigger guy just to prepare him for a fight with Roman Gonzalez. I don't know how likely that fight is, though, now that Roman Gonzalez is breaking into the U.S. market. But with an Estrada or somebody, I mean, it would be a great fight. But, I mean, even Estrada right now is trying to break into the U.S. market, getting a rematch with Valoria. Let's hope that, you know, the Filipino guy, you know, can move to the States. He can speak English, so, you know, he can push the fight in North America. And he's got a great resume. He's the longest reigning champion, Filipino champion. I mean, he's looked great in his fights. Like you say, he's versatile, has range, picks his distance, you know, can adjust. The reason why, apparently, I mean, he faded in the end, he broke his hand.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I was hearing. So I'm not sure, I mean, how legitimate it was, but that's what they were saying, that he broke his hand like somewhere in the 7th, 8th round or something. So that could be
bust up that guy's face, man. He really did a number on that guy's face.
Yeah. So it would be nice to see him step up. I mean, that's what we want, right? We want to see these top-level guys fight each other, whether it's the Lomos and the Rigos, the Wards and the GGGs. You know, you get a guy like him, and fine, you know, he goes ignored by the majority of the boxing public. But you put him in with like an Estrada or Roman Gonzalez, it's excellent. You know, those guys are also looking upwards as well. I mean, all those divisions are really close as far as weights. So, I mean, let's just hope they can get those big matches together.
I'll just go ahead. I was going to open up to everybody else who's if you've seen the fight, your impressions.
Well, you know, I'm a huge Nietes fan, so the man is smooth, man. He's smooth. I love how he moves. He's not fast, but he got that timing. And another thing that I like about it is how he sits into his stance, goes low. He goes real low, and he'll come up with either uppercut, or he counter uppercut you. You come up with a hook, or just real weird stuff I never seen before, you know. And he got this different look. I just love him, man. I love him.
He reminds me a lot of former junior lightweight champion Brian Mitchell in terms of how he moves, how he can be in the pocket and go up and down with his head, turn to the side, come with uppercuts and hooks, and then the right uppercut or the right hook, and then position his body to go right back down with the left hook to the other side, to the body or the head. Very good guy.
Man, it's just weird, man. What he does, I never seen kind of stuff like. I don't know who Mitchell is, but he. The other thing I saw him do was fight off the back foot. He was actually fighting off the back foot, and not, you know, you don't think of a guy like Roman Gonzalez fighting off the back foot. He usually like stays one place, uses upper body movement and his guard, and then he comes forward all the time. You know, you don't think of GGG fighting off the back foot. This dude, he can fight off the back foot. He can fight standing in the pocket. He can fight coming forward. You know, that stuff is just so refreshing, you know. So,
yeah. Go ahead.
I don't know, man. I know if you, I can't say really if Roman Gonzalez. I think Roman Gonzalez has a lot more power. Nietes is not the most powerful puncher out there. That's the thing about him. But other than that, I don't know. You know, that's an interesting matchup with Roman Gonzalez. I don't know. I mean, he's an old guy, but still, I'd love to see it.
And before I move on, I will give you Brian Mitchell, former from South Africa, former junior lightweight champion in the mid '80s and early '90s. I posted a fight years ago on another channel of him and Tony Lopez. I need to post some other fights of him as well, but just look that up. Just search Brian Mitchell boxing. His fight with Tony Lopez there's also another fight of his on YouTube against Frankie Mitchell. Another fight against Rodriguez, I think his name was, but there are fights of him on YouTube against Daniel Londes as well. A title defense he had in France, I believe, in '89. But very good fighter, very diversified fighter. Yeah, and to Sean's point, he's saying in the champ, in the chat. The reason you don't see a lot of them was because I'm going off here on the spiel, but I have to give an explanation. Mitchell was white, South African. When he won the belt, there was a stipulation after he won the belt that the WBA, the BC, the IBF, they wouldn't sanction bouts in South Africa at the time. But because he had a belt, they made a deal with him that he could keep the belt, but he had to defend them on the road, right? Okay. So he made 12 defenses of the title from 86 to 91, all were on the road, from Italy to Spain, France. He fought Tony Lopez twice in Sacramento. The first fight he was robbed. Second fight he won by decision. His last really really good bout in 1991. But check him out if you can. What you need, very good fighter. But let me go on. For anybody who saw the Nietes bout, say what you got to say.
I wouldn't mind seeing him in there with Chocolatito. I think you get to be a senior fighter, and you should be afforded some respect and some chances. Maybe slightly above your current skill level. Somebody maybe is on the downward curve of their career, but I think you earn that shot. You maybe earn that final payday. That's what a lot of people are saying about the rumors about Andre Berto and Mayweather. Berto's gotten in there, done his thing. Does he, I'm not saying I agree with this, but because I see that head shaking going on over there, that he deserves to get a paycheck to see his way out of the sport. I think Nieto is certainly worthy of that. I think Chocolatito would pound him into the ground. The guy's power for his size is astonishing.
That's the difference. That's the difference. Power.
Yeah, he's all of them at that level in these smaller weight divisions have speed. Have all the other skills, the ring generalship, so on and so forth. But you cannot deny the punching power of Gonzalez. It's incredible.
Okay.
Dill, boxing addict, Taisha, your thoughts?
Okay, this is what I thought about him against Rodriguez Jr. It was a good fight. He did control the range. He did show me different looks. He fights a lot with his torso, side-to-side movement. He does block a lot of shots. But his defense has fluidity to set up his offense on the move, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
He does throw nice uppercuts to the body, especially to the solar plex. He throws nice to the sides, and he got good body to body head movement. Offense with Arsenal was punching, and whenever Rodriguez Jr. tried to come in, he countered the hell out of him.
Mm-hmm.
It was beautiful, and then he'll set up some new range for Rodriguez to come, so he can do the same thing, or he'll come at Rodriguez at a certain range and throw a combination. And I was like, man, this is some good boxing. This is the best 108 guy I've seen, and
love his head control too. I head control him.
His poise, his skill set is impeccable. Now, it's a shame a guy like that never gets mentioned in the state, don't get no national attention, but in the Philippines, for what I read, he's very popular. He's a legend there. But overall, if he did fight Gonzalez, Gonzalez will have to be very patient against a guy like that who can counter at certain ranges. It's about patience, poise, setting up traps. It'll be a good boxing matchup. Will Gonzalez win? Probably on activity, but it'll be one of his toughest fights. I say it's a 60-40 chance of either guy winning, but I give it to Gonzalez.
And I say you bring that fight right back to Los Angeles. You've got a big Filipino population in California, and Gonzalez was extremely well received in Los Angeles with his debut at the Forum. Heck, take it right back there, they'd fill the place.
Boxing addict Taisha, if you saw the fight, your thoughts?
I missed the fight actually, so I'll let you go, Taisha.
Unmute your mic, Taisha.
Yeah, I didn't catch it either.
Okay, we'll move on. We'll move on and go to the news. I'll go right to you on this one, Taisha. Big rumor that popped off last night, of course. Mayweather rumored to be fighting his final fight, if you will, against Andre Berto September 12th on CBS. That's right, Free Network Television, folks. Lot of chatter. I know Sean wanted to get into it, but a lot of chatter about the fight with Berto. I'm going to hold my thoughts about it until the end. But I'll go to you on this one, Taisha. Your impressions of the rumors that Floyd will be returning to the ring against Berto on free TV?
Well, the thing of it is that it doesn't bother me as much as it bothers everyone else, for the simple fact that for so long, Berto's been this so-called gatekeeper for people to go through to fight Floyd, right? So how I look at it is that I think he deserves a shot just like anyone else. I'm not even talking about his resume or whatever. I think just like Gail said that he gets his just due, get his final paycheck and move on. I mean, what is Berto doing nowadays? I mean, he fought that one time coming back from his shoulder injury, and that was it. So does it bother me? Not really. Because Floyd Mayweather is going to do whatever the fuck Floyd Mayweather wants to do anyway. So whether we bitch, moan, and complain about it, it's going to be what it is. It's not going to ever be against anybody we want to see him fight. So take it with the blow. Let him get his last fight and get the fuck up out of boxing. That's how I feel about it. Good fucking riddance.
Yeah, this is a victory lap for Floyd. Man. It's a victory lap for Floyd. This is it. And he knows that people were pissed about getting ripped off for the Pacquiao fight. He knows that's the perception out there, that it was a boring-ass fight, and he made a lot of money for doing nothing, basically. So he is emotional enough about his career that he doesn't want to go out on that note. So that's why the free fight is in the offing. But he cannot stage a fight on a free broadcast network in the United States with a real player, because the real player is going to say, "No way! I want my paycheck. You know, I'm still in the middle of my career. I don't care if you're on your way out, unless you can offer me some real money. Forget it." But
exactly.
A guy like Berto will be willing to accept what a broadcast network could afford versus a premium network or a pay-per-view network. And hey, I don't blame Berto. I like the guy. He's had his issues in his career, and he's been absent recently, mainly due to injury. Absolutely legit. So give the guy a shot. Now, at this point, Floyd has got one foot out the door, as they say. That's the way it goes.
I'm gonna give Sean the opportunity here. I know he's chomping at the bit because I know he has a response for this.
I can't wait.
Your thoughts, Sean. Your thoughts.
No,
burn, bro, burn. As EJ Boxing Live would say, burn.
Berto is a guy who's lost 3 of his last 6 fights. I mean, you can say whatever you want, but he doesn't deserve this fight. He hasn't done anything to deserve the fight. Fine, I get Gail's point. Maybe some of the other higher-level guys wouldn't have been into this, but I don't understand why. Because the Manny Pacquiao fight was huge, maybe almost 5 million pay-per-view. But fighting Floyd on CBS is going to probably be over 20 million people watching you fight. So if you're a guy like Thurman or Porter or Brook who fights him, even if you lose, you get the biggest platform in sports that you'll ever get for your entire career. So, it's a great opportunity for anybody. Unfortunately, with a guy like Berto, who after this fight is never going to do anything, they're going to push him as being a 2-time world champion, but he hasn't done anything. He's lost 3 of his last 6 fights. Every time he stepped up, he's been battered. People say that it's a Floyd deserves it because he's done so much. So an easy fight is fair, and this is his last fight, and that's what they'll push it for. His retirement fight, it's okay. It's a big fight on TV, but it's not his last fight. Who's fooled to believe that? He's coming back for number 50, and that's going to be another pay-per-view fight. So really, you can't blame them because they're being smart businessmen, and this is going to help push Heyman's brand on TV, which he spent tons of money to try to push, and finally he's going to have like that big name fight that's going to like sell and bring casual fans to watch, unlike any fight he's had so far. So as far as economics goes, I see the point. But I mean, it doesn't mean that it's fair. It doesn't mean that I like it. Thurman is mandatory. He's done what he's needed to do. I mean, he deserves that platform more than anybody else does. And it would be a great opportunity for a young fighter who is going to take over after Floyd finishes. And hey, I'm not a big Thurman fan, you know, but I just appreciate what he brings, and that this is an opportunity that he deserves. Like if you wanted to give it to Bradley, who's done everything that he needed to do, and put him in there, fine. You know, that would be legit. You know, Bradley deserves that way more than Berto. And you know, does anybody really think, based on styles, that he would beat Floyd any more than Berto would? I mean, he's really looked like he's getting old the last couple of fights, and he looks like he's a little shell-shocked.
Well,
So,
I think he is shell-shocked. That's for damn sure. But Bradley's pretty tough cookie. I mean, the deal with Berto is that's enough money for him to go out on. Thurman, you know, if he's going to fight Floyd, he wants his payday like everybody else.
He wants $10 million plus for that fight.
Yeah, he wants a lot of bucks. Risk reward. The problem with the networks is, you know, they don't have the upfront money of the pay-per-views to count on. So they've got to gamble that the audience will really show up. And, you know, I think CBS is only willing to gamble to a point. So to make the fight with one of those other guys, Heyman has to be willing to back up. He has to be willing to be the bank for that check. You know, he has to be willing to be the guy to write the check and figure out whether he's going to make any money back on it or not. Who knows? But the bottom line is we all know that Floyd is so in love with that 0 on his record that he will not do anything to jeopardize it. And anyone even slightly dangerous isn't going to get in with him. He just does not want to go out on a loss. That would be an absolute disaster for him. Can't risk it.
I want to go to Big Deal here because he made an interesting video, uploaded an interesting video today on his channel, talking about a comparison between fighters of today versus fighters of yesteryear. In regards to, you know, he mentioned Mayweather, you mentioned Pacquiao, Mayweather, and let's talk about TBE. And I think there's a connection here between that and the discussion we're going on right now about Floyd and this bout with Berto. Talk about the bout itself and expand on what you said in the video that you uploaded earlier today, J. Dill. Unmute your mic, brother.
Okay, this is the main points I made in my video. Like, Floyd's about to go 49-0, right? Well, this is 19 years of work he has done. Rocky Marciano was 49-0 as well, and that was 7 to 8 years of work. And he went out with a back injury or some sort like that when guys like Cleveland Williams were coming up on the rise. People wanted to see that fight. But the point is this, man. You know, the activity of the prize fighter is killing boxing. Instead of seeing 1 or 2 big fights, which is not sustainable for the sport, for people to keep their attention span, their viewership, they need to see that face at least 3 or 4 times a year. You know, get 2 touch-ups, possibly, or 3 touch-ups, and 1 big fight per year, or possibly 2 touch-ups and 2 big fights that year, and mix them up. You know, big fight, easy fight, big fight, easy fight, and call it a day unless there's some major injuries or something like that. I get it. Compared to back in the days, having 20 to 26 fights a year was regular, even when you were in your prime or going through your prime. Now, you know, it's like the conditions change, the rules have changed. I get all that, but fighters, they're hungry, like a Golovkin, you know, who will fight 3 or 4 times a year. Look what Kell Brook. Kell Brook is doing exactly what I'm talking about. Get 2 touch-ups and try to get a big fight in October. Whether it's Brandon Rios or Keith Thurman or whatever, but that's something. Look what Vladimir Klitschko is doing. He's doing 2 big fights. One against Brian Jennings. Now he's doing Tyson Fury. Of course, he don't need too many more touch-ups for the rest of this year. And I wouldn't be mad if he got a touch-up next year and then do a big fight later on that year. But Mayweather, you know, he gave certain fighters that we questioned for years a fight. Like, for instance, I kind of questioned the Canelo fight, but I'm not mad about it because it was a challenge at 152. But Canelo wasn't ready or showed any indication that he was ready for a skill set like Mayweather's. But I still give Mayweather the credit because that's a young, hungry lion, an upcoming rising star. But what Canelo has done since, you know, makes it a solid or good win for Floyd, period. Marcos Maidana hasn't done as much as Timothy Bradley, but he gets a fight with Mayweather, beating an unproven champion Adrian Broner. In his first attempt to defend that title, he loses. And he loses kind of embarrassingly. And then Floyd gives him a shot for twice that year. Now, history will determine how good that victory against McDonough twice has become. But here's the Sean Newton theory about that. A lot of people was trashing Floyd for taking on that fight the first time, but the Sean Newton theory shows that fight was so close you can call it a draw or you can give it to McDonough in that fight, more so than give it to Floyd. It's all about how you see the fight. It was closer than we thought. Floyd almost got knocked down and knocked out in the 3rd round by that setup shot by McDonough when Floyd was trying to go for a pull counter punch. But after that, Floyd used veteran craftsmanship, stayed his distance, control range, and gave it a lackluster performance. C- performance, as he would say. Each fight, he never looked that impressive against Marcos Maidana. Then the Pacquiao fight, another B to C grade performance because Floyd's showmanship of putting that exclamation mark on a legacy fight such as this pissed off a lot of fans who put in a lot of money, a lot of investment, a lot of time, a lot of emotion. There's been divisions in boxing community because of this talk and this fight, and this is the performance he gives out. So I come at Floyd this way because I put myself in perspective. If you're going to compare yourself to Ray Robinson, you're going to talk trash about how Muhammad Ali fought George Foreman and stuff like that, but you never took the risk of a fight where somebody says no way in hell you're going to win this fight, and you're out of your prime. Floyd been out of his prime for the last 6 years. I need to tell you that, folks. But overall,
you're right. He's not in his prime no more. It's been a while since he's been in his prime.
Yeah, but I'm not trashing Floyd. I'm not hating on Floyd. That's not my interest. My interest is to put clear thought into it, pure truth into it. And let's be honest. Floyd, De La Hoya ain't in his prime, but that was the pass the torch type of fight, passing the torch. Then Floyd fought Ricky Hatton in his prime and won that fight. Okay, that's a young prime fighter. Then we go a 2-year layoff almost, where Floyd couldn't make the catch weight obligations with Marquez. Marquez still took the money, took the fight. Now it's Marquez's first time moving up to a 143, 144 pound fight. He got used to it. He started fighting Pacquiao twice in it. But the point is this: I'm not going to knock Floyd for that fight because that's the last unblemished performance I've ever seen Mayweather, where he looked not only dominant, but defensively and offensively, he just looked impeccable against Marquez. Yeah, I never seen Marquez get dominated like that, technically or in boxing ability. Then against Shane Mosley, yes, Mosley had momentum against Margarito, but you gotta also look at it like this: Mosley was still considered a shell fighter of himself because, you know, those wars against Winky Wright, Bernard Forrest, and so on. But he hit his shot at Floyd in the 2nd round. Then after that, he was he couldn't pull the trigger no more, and his stamina was fading, and Floyd just outpointed him. But he dominated the rest of that fight. Okay, but that's now mostly in his prime. And I'm not attacking Floyd by that. Then Victor Ortiz. Ortiz was nowhere in his prime. I don't think he ever hit his prime because think about it. He quit against McDonough, so his confidence was gone. Then he was winning the fight against Lamont Peterson. Then Peterson comes back in the second half, and that became a draw. Then he didn't look that great against Berto, but he fought hard like a warrior. And voila, he gets a Mayweather fight. And that fight is one of those cheap feeling fights where it pissed people off because not only did Ortiz cheapen the feeling that fight by headbutting, but Mayweather gets a knockout victory by cheap shotting to deliver back the favor. So that's the last knockout technically you ever seen of Floyd Mayweather, aka TBE. Then the fight against Miguel Cotto, right? I gotta give Floyd credit for that because Cotto was fighting at his weight. Cotto was the champ, part of being a champion in that division. And Cotto was coming back against wins against Mayorga, Jennings, Foreman, those guys. So he had some momentum coming back since the Pacquiao to Margarita fight the first time. But thanks to Pacquiao, he had a better time fighting Margarita. But the point is, he gave Floyd a good spirited, good fight, frustrated Floyd. One of Floyd's toughest fights, as Floyd will say. And then Floyd, because of his domestic issues, he had to go to jail. So almost a year until he fight again. And then he gets a touch-up against an unproven welterweight, even though he beat a Euro guy who's undefeated and Selçuk Ayton. And then he fought a gateway guy, Andre Berto. And, you know, either fight, you know, Guerrero didn't look that impressive where you could say he deserves a Mayweather fight. But he got the fight. He got outclassed. He didn't have a strategy. And that was that. Then the Canelo. So 2013 was the last year where we say on showmanship or just how he was, Mayweather, that was his last great year. Then this year, the Pacquiao fight, yeah, he won, but it didn't have a feel of a mega fight when you saw the fight. Now, seeing the stars and the crowd and all that, it felt big, but the actual action, it didn't feel big. And Mayweather, I don't know what to call that, but that's not TBE. And overall, in a 19-year career, I expected more fights, more legacy fights, beating more guys in their prime other than a Corrales, even though he was at 135 and eventually went to 130. Then you had Luis Castillo, I gotta give him credit. Then a Ricky Hatton, then a Canelo who was starting to get in his prime. I mean, then a good win against Cotto, but I wouldn't consider that a Cotto in his prime. Cotto just got a style that keeps him in longevity. A Pacquiao who's 36 years old, when people wanted to see that fight 5 or 6 years ago when Pacquiao was at his peak. Whether negotiations by both sides screwed that up, whatever, that's on both of them. But the point is, it's not many times where you can say Floyd beat that guy in their prime and at their highest momentum, where you can say Ali did that to Liston and Foreman when they were at their highest momentum and they were the most fierce. Now, I'm just using that as an example since people want to use TBE. Haven't seen that. Now, skill set-wise, Floyd is top 5. Now, resume-wise, Floyd, I don't know where to rank it. It's not in the top 10. It's not in the top 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever. Because I've done the research. And I could back up my research. Now, Floyd is the top 2 or top 3 best undefeated fighters of boxing history, up there with the Ricardo Lopez's and Marcianos. The rest of the guys like McLaughlin, Lizel, Popsa, Terry Marsh, and those guys. I mean, and Jimmy Berry, Floyd got a better undefeated record than those guys. But overall, Floyd and his brand doesn't fit what I've done as a boxing student, a boxing fan, and just pretty much my love for boxing and my boxing knowledge says, you're great, Floyd, but you're not the greatest. I'm questioning if you're the greatest of your era because I'm looking what Vladimir Klitschko's doing. And he's been wiping out everybody in his division, giving them their first loss in stiff competition where it's top 5, top 10, top 15, or top 2, top 3. And it's either by knockout or total domination. I mean, think of the heavyweight division. There's only maybe one other guy other than Klitschko that has been proven, and that's Povetkin. And that's not saying much, even though he beat Chagev, not Pulev, Takam, I think. But the point is, Povetkin got a lot of names on there. But after Povetkin and Klitschko, every guy in that heavyweight division is unproven. And prospects are not fighting prospects. But who's wiping out that division? Vladimir Klitschko, whether it's young lions, old lions, whatever. And he avenged his loss. So yeah, I gotta say, is Floyd bigger than a Klitschko for his era? No, and Klitschko's 38 years old or going on 40. So you gotta look at that in perspective. You gotta look at his last 4 or 6 fights. Meaning Klitschko, despite what you might think of the competition in the heavyweight division, the facts are the facts. And a champion is being a champion, and he's defending all 3 titles. My case is closed.
Indeed, I thought that Sean would be the most critical person, would be the one who's most critical of Mayweather. I think J. Dill won that tonight, hands down. But you made some very valid points. I'm going to go to Boxing Addict and what you need. Your thoughts on this fight and any response to all the points that J. Dill just brought to the table.
Yeah, well, I was going to say you haven't heard from me yet. Now, Mayweather, we all know how great he is, fantastic boxer, etc., etc. But come on, as boxing fans, he's fighting Berto next. Seriously, are we accepting that? Berto's barely top 20. This is a guy who's supposed to be the best fighter in the world and calls himself the best ever. Okay, he doesn't necessarily want to fight a Brook who's dangerous, or a Khan who's fast, or a Thurman who we don't know what he is yet, really. But there's still people down that list better than Berto that he should be fighting. It's just an awful, awful fight. If he's on his way out and he's having 1 or 2 more and he wants to keep his own, fair enough, but he should take a lot of grief for this because it's not good enough. It really isn't. J. Dill makes a good point there. Certainly with Klitschko, he's took out everybody, big, small, fast, slow, whatever. All the top guys in the heavyweight division. I know it's not been as deep as the welterweights, but Klitschko's done that. He never shirks a challenge, and Floyd always does. And he always has everything in his favour, The Pacquiao fight should have happened 4 or 5 years ago when Pacquiao was a real threat to him. And just fights like this, it doesn't ruin his legacy because he'll retire unbeaten. And he's beat just about everybody, but he's kind of caught them at the right time. The Canelo fight, I actually give him credit for the Canelo fight because that was, on paper, certainly at the time, I thought, a difficult fight against a big guy. Cotto fight, give him credit for that. Hatton fight, again, give him credit for that. But over the years, he's ducked and dived, and he's had most of it in his favour. But this fight was a real shock to me when I heard Berto's name. I thought he was messing about. I really thought he was messing about when he said it in an interview. And he mentioned somebody else's name. He said Berto, what is it, Mayfield he mentions. I thought he was having a laugh. But yeah, turns out Berto's the man, and I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. Yeah.
What you need?
I'd rather. I know, Michael, you're not a big fan, you know, of Khan being thirsty for the fight, but Khan deserves the fight a hell of a lot more than Berto, in my opinion.
Someone that desperate shouldn't be rewarded in that way. That's just my opinion. What you need?
I listen to everyone talk, and it's interesting. First of all, is Berto confirmed as an opponent for Floyd Mayweather?
Technically no, but it's a strong lean.
Or is this a rumor?
It's a rumor, you know. It's a rumor, but there's a lot of belief in this rumor.
Let me put it to you this way. Until I hear Floyd Mayweather say who his opponent is, I'm actually going to believe that he's fighting Berto. Because I don't for 1 minute believe, based on Floyd Mayweather's history, he's going to fight a guy who the blueprint's out on how to beat him. And in his last fight, somebody was utilizing that blueprint. He didn't look very good, even though he got a knockout. So I don't really expect Floyd Mayweather to fight Andre Berto. That's my honest opinion. Now, I know a lot of people, they go with whatever they see in the media, and that's good. But I don't actually believe that because his history doesn't show that. And I just did a video. I just uploaded a video titled Floyd Mayweather Cherry Picker. You guys can go check out that video. Go check out that video, Floyd Mayweather Cherry Picker. And you'll see why I say that. I'm also doing a series, Floyd Mayweather TBE. I'm in round 2. And the reason I'm doing that series is because I don't want to be long-winded. But a lot of the points that I hear being made are what we call perception points. And we have to go into reality. For instance, I'll give you one. There is no one that Vladimir Klitschko has fought, no one, on the level of a Manny Pacquiao that Floyd has fought. No one. Furthermore, Floyd Mayweather has fought back-to-back #1 contenders in the world and world champions. Back-to-back for 9 years. Okay? 9 years. No one in the history of boxing has done that. Now, you can talk about frequency, and then you can say Klitschko had 2 good fights this year. Well, Floyd has been doing it year after year after year. So, when you really put the thing in perspective, and you have to have some balance, because as you said, Victor Ortiz, in retrospect, was not really that level of competitor, especially mentally, that could do it. But anyway, go check out my video on Floyd Mayweather Cherry Picker, because I think that would be a good one, and it's appropriate for this time where it looks like he's going to cherry pick Berto instead of a Thurman or a Porter or a Brook, which I think, me personally think they're much better. I think they've earned their shot at facing Floyd Mayweather Jr. I think those are much more superior opposition to Berto. And so let's see if this is what will happen, if he will actually fight Andre Berto. I'll be surprised if he does. Amir Khan? I don't know. That could be the person he's going to face, like Boxing Addict was saying. It's probably a setup for Amir Khan, because the 2 guys that he mentioned are from Amir Khan's gym, which is Kareem Mayfield and Andre Berto. So he may be hinting on Amir Khan. I know Floyd always wanted to fight Amir Khan. So that, I'm not watching that fight, though. I'm just telling you guys now, I'm not watching Floyd versus Amir Khan. I'm just not interested in that fight.
Neither am I.
But again, I try to keep everything in perspective, and that's it. I don't want to say too much more. I think everybody else has spoken at length on that. But tune into my series, Floyd Mayweather TBE. The best ever is not about the greatest. I think some people confuse the two. Muhammad Ali is the greatest to ever do it because of so many different factors, including his boxing. Floyd Mayweather calls himself the best ever because of his skill set and then the level of opposition that brought out that skill set. So that's basically what the best ever is about. But nonetheless, I'll leave it at that.
All right, I interject real quick about one point he made about the rankings. Amir Khan was ranked number 2 before he even fought at welterweight. So the rankings don't mean a damn thing no more. I mean, Alexander Povetkin was ranked number 7 in the IBF, and then eventually that went to Alexander Ustinov. Like, where did that go? Now Manny Pacquiao's not even ranked in the welterweight division. How about that? I mean, the rankings haven't meant nothing for a while, man, because these sanctioning bodies, and if you pay them off, your rankings get manipulated. So,
Just clarify, what do you mean by the rankings? Because you're talking about sanctioning body rankings, or are you talking about other affiliated bodies? Because the Ring magazine, you know, they have their rankings as well. You have other rankings. So what are you actually talking about?
Well, Ring magazine. How can I put this? At times, the Ring magazine rankings cannot always be objective. They can be subjective as well.
Well, it is a magazine. It's just been around for a long time, but it's just a magazine. My point being that when you're talking about rankings, what exactly are you talking about? Because according to the Ring magazine, Manny Pacquiao is number 2 contender. Kell Brook is number 1. Now, is that wrong? I think Kell Brook is the number 1 welterweight in the world, besides Floyd Mayweather. And Manny Pacquiao is number 2. Amir Khan is number 3, based on the body of work he's done. Timothy Bradley, number 4, and so on.
You basically are not getting what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you watch that movie, The Great White Hope, or Great White Hype, yeah, it was The Great White Hype. You know, they were trying to give Roper a credible opponent so pay-per-view sales can go up. And
What I'm saying, J Deal, so you'll understand. When you say a broad general term like the rankings, what you are really talking about is sanctioning body rankings, correct?
sanctioned body rankings are overall rankings. Like,
no, you can't talk overall rankings, because tell me if this is wrong. The Ring magazine has, tell me yes or no, Floyd Mayweather is the Ring magazine world champion. Kell Brook is number 1. Manny Pacquiao is number 2. Amir Khan is number 3. Timothy Bradley number 4. Keith Thurman number 5. Sean Porter number 6. Marcos Maidana number 7. Doesn't that sound like it? Is that right or wrong? It may not be in exact order, but isn't that correct?
I wouldn't know because I didn't look at the Ring magazine.
Oh, come on, man. That's how we rank the welterweights. The top welterweights right now are Sean Porter, Kell Brook, Manny Pacquiao, Amir Khan, Timothy Bradley. That's how it is. Either you know it or you don't know it. There are no other great welterweights out there based on their work ethic and so on. So when you say rankings, you need to be specific about what you're talking about. Otherwise, you're going to be proven wrong. Like this right here is wrong. What you're talking about, if I'm not mistaken, is that sanctioning bodies just suddenly bring a guy into the picture. Like Chris Algieri, he wasn't anywhere around in rankings. All of a sudden, he was ranked number 19 welterweight in the world by the sanctioning body, or number 15. I get what you're saying about that.
You're basically proving my point. Thank you very much. I ain't got nothing else to say since you brought that point.
But if you're talking about based on other rankings, because there are other bodies that rank things, right? Then you can't use that and lump it all together in one big heap, if you understand what I'm saying. Sanctioning bodies would have their rankings based on who's registered with them. Whereas if you're looking at world rankings, which you have to find some impartial body that's kind of outside of the sanctioning bodies, then you can talk about, okay, now you can really look at who's really ranked higher than who. But in sanctioning bodies, you have to look at who's registered to that body, who's willing to pay certain fees for competition or whatever. So you have to look at that. And Kell Brook, for instance, he's with the IBF right now. He's not registered with the WBA. He's not registered with the WBO. Of course, they can work out something because he's a champion to fight Floyd Mayweather. But he doesn't have to be in the rankings to fight him, because in a unification bout, that supersedes number 1 contender, number 2, based on the sanctioning body. So when we're talking about sanctioning bodies, you need to understand how boxing operates before you can start to talk about sanctioning bodies and ratings. You can say, yes, well, we can't really tell a true top 5 opponents based on the top 5 in a sanctioning body. You could say that, but you can't say that the sanctioning bodies, you know, how they operate is wrong, and so you can't say that. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, can I talk now? All right. this is what I'm going to tell you. If you even heard me on the Andrew Senior videos, when we do our hangouts, we do these rankings and we look at certain
criteria, hopefully.
And we break down how we rank our fighters and compare and contrast. And Manny Pacquiao is ranked number 3, and Timothy Bradley's ranked number 4, and Sean Porter's ranked number 5 in our rankings after Mayweather. Kell Brook is number 1 because Mayweather has technically won all 3 of those titles, so it makes sense that the IBF holder being the number 1 guy, since you just brought up the point that title holder could supersede the number 1 contenders and mandatories wherever Mayweather has to fight. So my thing is pretty much is when you take on the responsibility to win those titles, it's your responsibility to either keep them or not keep them. And if you're going to keep them, take on your mandatories or take on the top opposition in each one. Don't have fighters smoothly come into the rankings, take a touch-up fight, and then a contender fight, and then you justify why you fight that contender over somebody that's already put in the work and deserves it over the other. And
again, I think you're addressing the Berto issue. That has never happened in Mayweather's past, though.
Let me finish. So, anyways, as I was saying, if we had to go by rankings or supersede, Mayweather had no interest of fighting Timothy Bradley, who could have easily at time in 2013 could supersede any of Mayweather's mandatories or fixed ranking opponents to take on Timothy Bradley, and that would be justifiable. But Mayweather lets these guys build themselves up or get 2 fights in for the past couple years, and then he fights them because that's what the rankings say. But the rankings sometimes can get bribed off, paid off to quickly put you in a maneuver in a ranking to justify a cash cow guy eventually to get a pay-per-view fight, when that guy could either be moving up from a division or moving down to a division, or they're just a specific promoter type of guy, and it's just cohesiveness on the relationships. Either way, I'm talking about rankings could be manipulated in boxing. And perception, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, you can't tell me Victor Ortiz, perception-wise or whatever, no matter what you say, this ranking or what no ranking, deserved a shot against Floyd Mayweather.
He was the world champion at the time, WBC. You do realize that. He got it off. He got it off of beating Andre Berto, who was the WBC undefeated world champion at the time. You do realize that.
Well, what made him deserve that fight?
He became the WBC champion. Floyd was not the WBC champion. Do you know that?
No, I'm talking about what made him deserve the fight with Berto. What work did he put in to deserve that fight against Berto at 147?
He beat not Katsidis, Peterson at junior welterweight, and he moved up. He moved up in weight to challenge him. Look. Think about this one. All right? Wait a minute. Wait. Before you go on, remember when this is a very famous fight. When guys of lower weight classes move up, like Gennady Golovkin fighting Andre Ward, but I was thinking about the great Mexican fighter. What's his name? What's the great Mexican fighter's name?
We're talking about Chavez.
No. No, I'm talking about Puerto Rico versus Mexico. This is an old fight. You guys know it. It's throwback, way back in the day.
Salvador Sanchez and Benito, you're talking about?
That's right. Now, if you do remember, that the Puerto Rican fighter came up from a lower weight class to fight Salvador Sanchez, right? So if you want the best to fight the best, the way how the ranking system goes, it's based on merit, what you have done in your past fights. So that's a way of getting somebody who's in a lower weight class to move up to a higher weight class, and they can easily contend with the higher weight class. But like what happened with Donnie Nietes and Rodriguez. Wait, I gotta push back. That's a wrong comparison here. The Benitez and Salvador Sanchez, because look, Benitez established himself at 122, made a boatload of defenses,
15, 16 defenses, wiped out the division. Victor Ortiz did nothing of the sort at 140. Nothing.
But at 140,
and yet he got a shot at Berto at 147. That's not a good comparison.
Because he moved up. Because he moved up. Okay? And what the ranking system does, it merits you on your wins. That's how the ranking system works. That's just how it works. Now, people manipulate it, like Chris Algieri, for instance. He was a world champion at 140. And that's why
what J. Dillon
he was able, just now, let me just finish. He was able to move up and fight Manny Pacquiao because of his championship status. So even though he vacated his title, and they do it all the time in boxing, your record goes with you. And that's how a fighter actually builds up to even get a championship match. It's based on your record and how you progress, your wins versus your losses versus who you fought. Victor Ortiz, he put in the work at junior welterweight or super lightweight, fought these other named opponents, and so he got to step up. Robert Guerrero is the same thing. He moved from lightweight. He fought, was it Katsidis? And then after he fought, and he didn't even fight for a world title, though. He fought for an interim title, if I'm not mistaken, and he jumped up 2 weight classes, and he started fighting Sulkit Aydin, and then he eventually got the Berto fight, which ended up landing him the Mayweather fight, right? And I wasn't really enthusiastic about that fight, all right? I wasn't into Robert Guerrero. Who's he? I was like, who's that dude? So I think J. Deal has a point with the 2013 there. But as to Canelo Alvarez, where he fought Canelo Alvarez at the end of the year, I mean, that's a much better opponent again, and was the #1 super welterweight in the world at the time. In fact, I go into it in detail, and I show that the other contenders, the other opponents at that time at super welterweight could not compare to Canelo Alvarez. You have to look at the competitors, the people who were in that position at the time. So, again, boxing is built on those things. That's why you have sanctioning bodies and all of these things. And yes, people do manipulate it to get people up rankings. I don't disagree with that. But to say that someone doesn't earn a shot to move up a weight class to fight somebody else who they want to fight, I don't see that point at all. Because there's a system put in place where people are allowed to do that. Shane Mosley was a great lightweight, and he moved up and he fought Oscar De La Hoya. Correct. But what did Adrian Broner do? He was a great, well, he was a dominant, I wouldn't say great, but I'd say he was a dominant, was he a lightweight? Dominant lightweight?
Lightweight and junior lightweight.
And junior lightweight, and then he moved up.
But to his point, but you still didn't answer the question. The question still wasn't answered about J. Dill vis-a-vis Victor Ortiz and Berto. No, Victor Ortiz did not. I'm gonna bring everybody else. If you got to respond, please do. No, Victor Ortiz did not establish himself at 140 to really earn that shot. You talk about how rankings can be manipulated for other fighters. Well, hell, it was manipulated for Ortiz as well in order to get the shot at Berto. He didn't establish himself as a dominant guy to earn a shot at Berto. Like your comparison with Gomez and Salvador Sanchez, it's just not the case.
No.
Just wasn't. That's the point I was trying to make, but okay.
Anybody else want to chime in before we move on? Taisha, if you want to unmute your mic, please, ma'am.
Example, Paulie Malignaggi, a champion at 147, not considered a top 10 147 fighter at the time. Broner moved up to fight him. You know, he had a belt, but he wasn't even considered top 10. So what's your point? You know, do you think the sparring partner that Floyd fought, who was Cotto's sparring partner instead of Cotto, was legitimate? I mean, Gatti, who was given a belt based on his popularity, he was legitimate? Come on. I mean, history shows you, and we can go through it, how many guys did Floyd beat who were legitimate and retired right after they fought Floyd because they were done? They were given a big payday, they took the fight, and then they just retired.
Now, I got a question. I got a question for everybody in this panel. How many dominant champions has Floyd beaten? That's the question.
Well, the question is, and then you have to clarify, did he beat them when they were dominant, or before, or on their way up, like Canelo, or on their way down, like Pacquiao? You could say that Canelo and Pacquiao are both fairly dominant fighters, but the timelines didn't match up, and that's always an issue in boxing. You know, we got to match guys by weight classes first of all, but then you got the issue of age. You know, they don't all age at the same time at the same levels. So you have a guy who's power rankings are sort of his graph, his career is sort of head down, like admittedly like Pacquiao. So he's not fighting Pacquiao at his prime. Now in this case, Mayweather's to the point he's not the guy fighting in his prime either. So it becomes then you've got the scales doing this back and forth. Who's on the way up, on the way down, and who titles aside at that point of their career or in the sweet spot of their career. Those are the fights we love to see when the timing is right. The age range, the trajectory of the career matches. And that's when it's like ding, 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 ding. Oh my God! Then you get a really good one. Now, we treasure those because they don't happen very often. And the rest of the time, we have to, dance with the ones who brought us. That's it.
Right. I'm just saying, again,
Agreed.
I can hear your point, what you need, but again, to me, the comparison, particularly with Benitez and Salvador Sanchez, is just not apt at this case. And I'm saying this for the record. Let me finish. What you need to finish. I'm saying this for the record as someone who's on kind of Taisha and Gail's side and is not as mad about the fight as others are. Because for me, look, Mayweather.
Mad about which fight, by the way? Berto?
Mayweather Berto.
I never said he's going to fight Berto.
No, let me finish. This is my opinion. I think there's too many rumors. I think eventually it may happen. To me, right now, I think it's going to happen. It could change, but right now, as we speak, right now, Thursday evening, at the taking of the recording of this live, I think eventually it will probably happen. I'm not as mad as everybody else. I'm not as mad as everybody else is because, to Taisha and Gail's point, for me, Mayweather, coming off of such an emotional win, I just don't think he wants in this next fight a guy that tough. Brook, he don't want none of that right now. He's too tough for him. He's too tough. He don't want to have to build himself up mentally and physically for another test like that because he would have to in order to be a Brook. He would have to in order to be a Thurman. And the fact that the fight is on.
You won't have to do that for Berto? You don't think so?
No,
man. That's when you lose.
No.
Anytime you take your opponent for granted, you will lose.
He will be up, but he will not be as up as he was against Pacquiao. It's just no way. You can't go off the height like that and then no. There will have to be a downtime for Berto, and that's part of the reason why this fight is happening. He would have to be really.
You think it's happening though? You believe the rumor to be true?
I think I'm leaning towards the fight is happening. And besides the fact that it's on Freeze TV, he couldn't go pay-per-view right again and have people to pay money for about coming off of a Pacquiao bout. I think it'll eventually help Berto out to win in the end. Give him the money. Hell, let him use that money to help out Haiti. That's my thing. So all fighters win. But to me, I hear Thurman's point, but it wasn't going to happen. One, because Thurman's too tough, and two, Thurman is asking for too much money. And Brook, again, that would be too tough. He don't want to have that kind of competition at this point, coming off such a high win.
Suppose he ends up picking Brook. What will you say?
I don't think it'll happen. If he I'll be glad if it does. But I will really be surprised if he ends up choosing Brook. I really will.
How many times have people been surprised when he picked an opponent? How many times have people been surprised? Nobody expected him to pick Canelo. Nobody expected him to fight Cotto. Nobody. Come on, guys. You keep on saying the same thing over and over again. As if this guy he's gonna try and get the easy way. He's gonna do a soft touch, and he doesn't ever do it.
Who? Floyd. He does it all the time.
He does it all the time. Are you kidding? Really?
Okay. Name one time. Name one time.
Robert Herrera.
Manny Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao is a soft touch. Manny Pacquiao is a soft touch. I see.
5 years.
No, the Manny Pacquiao, that's not a soft touch. But
here's how I feel about the situation. That we are talking about a rumor that is intel, a rumor. That is what tonight's conversation about is just a rumor. So talking about what he has, what he will, what he has not done doesn't even matter because we're talking about how we feel about a possible fight with him and Berto. Not anything else, not how it's going to be if he chooses to fight Ancient Mama on the fucking table somewhere. We're just talking about the possibility of the rumor of him fighting Berto and how we feel about that. That's it. Now, how I feel about it is I don't care. I just want to sing Kumbaya and let him out and let these other young cats rise to the top. Let's let this man fight this battle and get the hell out of our thing.
And that was my other point. That was my other point I was trying to get to. If this fight happened, let it get out the way because there are too many young, good guys at welterweight. Let Brooke, let Thurman, let Khan, let Errol Spence, let Porter, let all of them fight each other.
Absolutely.
And let them decide who's going to be the future.
Fun, man. That would be fun.
That's my other point here.
One more thing for me.
That is a really important point because all these other guys are trying to hold their dance cards open for Floyd.
Yeah,
exactly.
And they're waiting around for I want Floyd this, waiting to get the next opportunity.
And they all
they could be fighting each other.
Exactly.
Here's the thing. No matter if they deserve it or not, every fighter's going to call out Floyd. No matter what their resume is, no matter how shitty they are, they're going to call out Floyd because it's the thing to do. What I want to know is everyone says that Thurman is, the most deserving of a shot at Floyd. Can someone tell me what his, let me see, how do you say it?
Number one, mandatory.
I don't care about that because mandatory don't mean anything anymore.
Number two, he has beaten 3 better opponents than anybody else has beaten 3 better opponents.
Okay, but hold on. Let me finish. Okay, let me finish. Now, of those opponents, where were these opponents ranked at on your ranking boards as for these opponents?
Robert
because
Guerrero,
of the last man, come on, we're not talking about the ghost, man. He's been up and out for forever. He doesn't even count. You talk about a soft touch, that's a soft touch right there.
Oh,
you want to talk about a soft touch, that's a soft
touch for Amir Khan.
Chris Algieri
Devin Alexander is not a soft touch for Amir Khan.
Chris Algieri is a fucking kickboxer. He's a soft touch for everybody.
We're talking about why he earned the shot. We got to look at the competition. Kell Brook fought Jojo Dan. He fought Frankie Gavin. His notch was Sean Porter. Yesteryear. Thurman fought Leonard Bondu, who beat Frankie Gavin. He fought Robert Guerrero. All right, Sean Porter's, he's good, but Robert Guerrero, I would love to see Guerrero versus Porter. And then he fought Luis Collazo, the same dude that Amir Khan did. Stopped him.
But Guerrero was a soft touch for Floyd, though. Let's be real about that.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, is Guerrero a soft touch for Amir Khan? Let Amir Khan fight Guerrero then. Let's see it.
Amir Khan's not going to fight anybody because he's a fucking prima donna who only wants to fight Floyd. The fight that should be going on with Khan should be Khan and fucking Brook.
Thank you.
If he wants money, that's where his money fight is between him and Brook. But he won't take it. Why? Because he's trying to get the money payout that he's not going to get. And if he doesn't get that, he's going to take another bullshit-ass fight. And no one says that he's cherry-picking. Because if he doesn't get the fight that he Floyd, he just picks some random-ass fight.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I disagree with that. It's Khan. Khan is full.
I'm hoping he fights Thurman, man.
Khan's full top position.
Huh?
Alexander.
Khan's full top position. You can't say he hasn't. He's always
No. I'm not saying that he hasn't fought tough opposition. I'm not saying that about him. But what I'm saying right now is that he has people calling him out. He's not going to get the Floyd fight right now. So why not fight these other people to show and prove that you are deserving of that spot? No one believes that he deserves a fight with Mayweather.
Well, he's calling out Thurman, so we might see that.
Who called out Thurman?
I think he deserves it much more than many of the other guys.
I hear you. I would much rather see Brook versus Kondo.
Oh yeah, of course.
If we're talking about from a fan's point of view, I want to see Brook versus Khan. I want to see Thurman versus a Guerrero or a Porter or something like that. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want to see any of those guys versus Floyd Mayweather. I want to see them fight people that are on their, in their prime, young legs and everything with them right now. I don't want to see them fight Mayweather.
None of them deserves that. Mayweather. I'm different to you. I love to see every single possible matchup under the sun, especially if they earn it. So
That's just because you want to see Floyd get knocked out, just like everybody
I'm a
else.
Mayweather fan, and I just said I do a thing on TBE. Come on, man. It's just that, and Floyd isn't going to get knocked out. He's going to school them. But what I'm saying is, what I'm going to say to you is that, first and foremost, what I'm saying is, if the people are in the shot, I'm cool with it. But I'm interested in every single matchup. I think it's going to be exciting time in the welterweight division. I'm looking forward to it. You know, that's all I got to say, man.
So
if Floyd stays around and fights all those guys, he's eventually going to lose to one of those guys just because of age and attrition. And he's not going to be willing to risk that record fighting all of those guys. So let him have this fight, in my opinion.
I can't speak
I'm not
for
mad
Floyd.
at this.
Floyd has to speak for himself, you know. He knows his capabilities.
So that's why I'm not mad at this fight. And eventually, for me, I want the future. I want the future to be developed here. I want the future. I want all these guys to fight each other eventually and see who's going to be the future, because Floyd is not going to be around that long. He's not going to fight all these guys. He's not.
And enter Errol Spence too. Errol Spence is an interesting player in the mix, you know, because he's been mentioned. So we have to talk about him.
Let's play somebody first before we.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, Spence is still too raw.
But it's basically intro to Errol Spence. It's kind of like because Floyd said his name's out there now. So we're going to be watching him with a microscope to see how he performs against his next level competition.
We went on a long time about this thing with Floyd. Let's move on and talk about some other things, because we can literally go all night about this and still get nowhere. We're gonna be really honest about it.
I want Floyd off of my TV stinking it up. Thank you very much.
Man, I love the dude, man. I love the dude and his style and his craft. I think people don't appreciate what he has done in boxing until about 10 to 20 years later.
Floyd. I respect Floyd for what he's done with his career. Am I tired of seeing him fight? Yes. I want these young cats who deserve to have the limelight now. He needs to move on, spend time with his family, and further whatever the hell else he's going to do. He needs to get off my goddamn TV.
I'm not like that. Let me move on, but go ahead, Dale, because I want to move on here.
Okay, this is brief. In conclusion, with the Floyd Mayweather thing, all I gotta say is 19 years. That's not TBE. And number two, I'm pouring some Ain't Your Mama syrup on the pancakes on that fat.
Go old school, bro. Make it that old king syrup.
Well, I'm saying he's TBE, but I'm saying his career ain't done, so I can't say it yet with authority. But I'm gonna build a case to show you all what I'm talking about. I appreciate what he's done for the game.
I appreciate what he does.
And one more thing I want to say, and also, right, his farewell. I hope it is his farewell. I hope it's his 49th fight. I don't think he needs to go to 50. You know, some people say he's going 50. I'm not him, so I don't know what he's gonna do, right? But like you saying, I don't like somebody holding up all those different titles. It's time for those titles to be released,
right?
So people can fight for those titles. You know, if he wants to go to his 50, let it be a non-title fight, you know, or something. Just let the young bucks do their thing, man.
You're getting to my point. I'm not tired of Floyd. I'm not necessarily tired of seeing Floyd. What I'm tired of is the rest of the welterweight division being held up because they want to pursue Floyd for money. Now let's move on and talk about Carl Froch, and anybody can chime in. Carl Froch, a couple of days earlier this week, announced his retirement after teasing folks with the prospect of fighting Gennady Golovkin. Gail, you were right on last week's show, on the latest episode. You said you and Jandra said that it's high time for Carl Froch to retire. Well, you proved to be boxing Nostradamus here. Speak about the retirement of Carl Froch and what he accomplished.
What I specifically said was that Carl needed to retire now with honor, and let that last great punch be his legacy, the Groves, and he did it. And thank God somebody finally knew when to step away. And I realize it's very hard for guys to do that, especially when they're at the height of their career like Froch's, but there was so much danger in him ruining his legacy, and you know, it was going to be very, very hard for him to maintain, much less climb any higher. He left at exactly the right time. Becoming a commentator is perfect for him. You know, he'll still make some dough. He'll still be able to pay his bills. I realize a lot of people are probably disappointed about not getting to see him fight Golovkin, but I don't think that it would have benefited him in any way. I think the chances of him getting a win there were slim, and then he ruins a wonderful career. I think we're in exactly the right place. I wish him well, and I think he made the right decision.
I'm gonna break the boxing news segment up here, so I'm gonna go to a couple of people on certain individual topics, specific topics. But I'm gonna stay on Froch here in his retirement and go to you, Boxing Addict, since you are in the UK. The reaction in England to the retirement of Carl Froch. What's the vibe over there?
Yeah, everyone's just come to the conclusion that he's thought about the decision for a long time now. Being out the ring for that long, he's never done that before. He's always been on the weight, training, fighting. He's 38 now. He's earned a lot of money. I saw the show last week with the ladies, which was really good. I think somebody brought up he might be coming back to fight because he needs the money. He doesn't need the money. He was very wealthy before he even fought Kessler in the second fight, where he earned probably £3 or £4 million. He's reputedly got £11 million, about $14 million just for Groves 2.
Whoa! I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. So he's probably earned over $20 million in his career plus. He doesn't need the money. He's been very astute with his investments. He's got a lot of houses and that sort of thing. So he's okay on that score. It was never really anything to do with that. It's more the fact that I think he feels that he doesn't need to anymore. When you're hungry and you guys know I've spoke about it before. I'm from Nottingham. I used to live next door to Cole's family pub. I used to see him going out running at 6 o'clock every morning in the rain when he was an upcoming fighter, coming through the ranks, and he was hungry. And you saw that in the ring a lot of times, how hungry he was, and that's what got him through a lot of those difficult fights and got him those great wins. But when you get to 38 and you've got a couple of kids and you're living in a nice house and Sky are taking you around the world, feeding you nice meals and glasses of wine, you're not so interested in getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning anymore. And I think that's what it comes down to, unfortunately. We'd all love to see him again, but yeah.
Over the last 25 years, I'm actually a follow-up question at it. Been 4 really prominent super middleweights, in England. There's Froch, there's Calzaghe, there's Nigel Benn, Chris Eubank. I'm leaving Collins out purposely because, Ireland.
He's Irish, yeah. And there's Watson as well.
Because he's Irish, no offense. But what's the comparison in terms of Froch to the other big 3, Calzaghe, Benn, and Eubank?
It's a difficult one. People have got their opinions, of course. Calzaghe's got the unbeaten record. People then say, did Calzaghe fight the best Americans when they were in the weight division? Same can be said of Benn, of Eubank. It's very tricky. What you can say about Froch is he went home and away to the guy's backyard for every champion, every top contender in the division over the last 6-7 years. And you know what? The only man he's not beaten is Ward. And that's some record when you look at it. So when you're comparing styles, a lot of people say, speed kills and Calzaghe would have outpointed him and that sort of thing. But, I've seen I've watched back some of Calzaghe's fights recently and, against Jeff Lacey and Robin Reed and this and that. Froch is a different type of animal, Lacey hardly threw a punch, couldn't land a punch. Froch is a guy who's there for 12 rounds, throwing shots, going after you. And Calzaghe used to like a bit of a tear-up. When he got caught, he used to like to throw shots and try and knock the guy out. Now, if he did that with Froch, he could get knocked out himself. So to say who was better or who would have won, it's a difficult one. they're all very, very highly ranked and up there. I think they should all be Hall of Famers, all four of them, because the super middleweight division in Britain's just been unbelievable the last 20 years because of those guys, you know?
I'm going to go to Taisha and J. Dill. Negotiations happening right now for a bout between featherweight titleist Vasyl Lomachenko and the guy who's still considered the man, in my opinion, at 122 pounds, Guillermo Rigondeaux. Initially, there was negotiations for a bout at a catch weight of 124 pounds. I'm hearing today through various sources that Rigondeaux has agreed to move to fight at 126 pounds. And I'm mute your mic, Taisha and J. Dill. Should this bout come off? Taisha first. Your thoughts on this on Lomachenko versus Rigondeaux?
What do you mean my thoughts on it? It should be the thoughts of everybody else.
How much do you like the fight? And
I fucking
your
love
thoughts
it.
on it. Who do you have winning right now?
Rigondeaux? Duh. That's my boy. I'm gonna roll with him he can be the sorriest son of a bitch in boxing. I'm gonna roll with him till the fucking brakes fall off. But nah, I honestly think the skill set is a lot different than what people are putting out there. They think that Lomachenko is just gonna, have his way with Rigondeaux, and I don't believe that that's gonna be the case. Yes, speed kills, but Rigondeaux's a tricky son of a bitch. You know what I'm saying? He's here one second, he's over there the next second. I mean, you could throw a million punches at the air and not hit anything. You understand what I'm saying? So I think
we had that conversation on Twitter with Kayla and Giandra, and they think differently.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I'm on the other end of this for right now. I honestly think that, for one, is going to be a good fight. Two, I think in the end, Rigondeaux is going to edge out, because I don't think that I think he's going to give him some problems. I mean, that's just how I see it. I'm not going to root for Lomachenko. I'm sorry.
Wait, why you not gonna root for him? You just don't like him?
No. I dig Lomachenko, just not against Rigondeaux. I just don't think he's going to beat Rigondeaux like everyone else thinks he is.
Your thoughts, J. Dill. On paper, this is a fantastic matchup.
Okay, both guys great amateur Hall of Famers, like Liza Pap. But I'm just gonna put it like this, man. This is gonna be the southpaw version of Mayweather Pacquiao in a way. One guy got great foot speed, pivots, circles around good ambush, explosive fighter in Lomachenko, who goes to the body viciously, but he's not really a physical type of fighter. But he's very athletic, very skilled, can change speeds. He feels you out, then he takes it to another gear. His activity rate is ridiculous, and his arsenal is ridiculous. Now, Rigondeaux, he controls distance. He's not going to let you get your rhythm off of him. And as soon as you try to willing to engage, he's going to get your respect with his power. Rigondeaux got power, whether it's to the body or to that head. Now, for Lomachenko to win, he's going to have to go to the body, but that's hard, easier said than done, because Rigondeaux's reflexes, the way he uses spacing, and his power. And so the jab is going to be very important in this fight, and it's all about activity and pace in this fight. So this is 64 or 50-50 fight. This is going to be Rigondeaux's toughest challenge on paper, professionally, and this is going to be also Lomachenko's telltale party of where he's at. But this is a bigger test for Rigondeaux because he's moving up a division to take on this fight, and we're going to see who's the best of the best, from the amateurs to the small amount of fights of these two. And hey, I'm going to say it's either going to be a draw or give me Rigondeaux, because I think he's the more mature fighter, but the more complete possible potential complete fighter would be Lomachenko, but we'll see.
What say you? What you need?
Size is a problem. That's the problem with this fight. Size. You know what's interesting? Lomachenko was hesitant to fight Nicholas Walters because of his size. And it's interesting that he's picking on this little guy called Rigo, who's really a 118-pounder, pulling him all the way up to 125, knowing Rigo can't get past 122. So this is going to be an interesting fight where Rigo's now going to be pulled all the way up to 126 if this is rumored. This is rumored. We don't know if that'll happen. So that's an interesting fight. I'm going to tell you that right now because of size. But other than that, both are southpaws. So this is an interesting fight in the sense of how is Rigondeaux going to handle the southpaw. I think he's seen this style before. Well, I don't think he's seen quite anything like Lomachenko. So it should be an interesting fight, man. It'll be an interesting fight. We'll see what happens.
I know Gil and Sean are going back and forth in the chat room chiming in. I know they're itching to say something.
I think we're in agreement. I don't know if your feelings are as strong as mine are about this one, Sean, but I don't think there's any doubt Loma takes this one. I don't think Rigondeaux has faced anybody like him, and yeah, when you are, when you got the one coming up in weight, that's always troublesome. That's always an extra challenge that, unless you don't really need to do that, most guys do not choose to do that, and there's a reason for it. Yep. Great fight, though. I don't think it will, I'm in the chat room saying Loma crushes Rigo. Well, crushes is probably a strong word. I'm sure it will still be very competitive, but I do think he'll dominate him.
If Rigo can use his power, if he has power translated up to 126, he could keep Loma off of him. But if he doesn't have that power, he's going to have to resort to something else. And we don't know what that is.
Question. And at those lower weight divisions, 4 pounds is a lot.
Yes, it is.
Those guys. I mean, we have to remember what that is. Chris Arreola loses that after lunch. With a trip to the John. I mean, heard about it. Struggle for 2 weeks to get 4 pounds off at that weight. So.
Lomachenko is going to come into the fight weighing less than Marroquin, less than this Japanese guy Rigo just fought, less than Donaire. So the size is not an issue in that sense. This 126 thing, Rigo's not going to come in at 126. He's going to come in comfortably, whatever that's going to be. They're probably going to have a rehydration clause so that Lomo doesn't get too big. But what was his last fight? 136. Still less than those 3 fighters. So, I mean, a lot of that's just a ploy. I mean, what makes this fight tough is that who has Rigo fought that had a great jab and great foot movement?
Right.
Nobody. If Donaire could throw a jab, maybe he would have been competitive. But the problem is he's a tall boxer who didn't use a jab, and he was trying to counter a counterpuncher, and that didn't work well for him. But Lomachenko is not like that. He's going to use angles, he's going to use his feet to move, and he's going to use a jab. And Rigo uses his jab to set up his offense, and he tends to be a little one-handed. How is he going to get his jab off against the taller guy? That's the interesting point. I mean, I don't want to take things away from Rigo because he's quality, and he's shown that he's a good fighter. But there's still questions about him. The only top-level guy he fought was Donaire. But then I also have questions about Lomachenko, who I think has fought better caliber fighters than Rigo has.
But you hadn't fought anybody close to the skill level of Rigo, though.
Well, Russell is a very skilled fighter, though. More skilled.
Much higher level. Much higher level.
Of course not. Of course not. But I mean, I'm just saying, he's fought somebody at a skill level similar, more so than anybody Rigo has fought. And Lomachenko has just finished amateur career fighting WSB, World Champion Boxing, against all high-level caliber boxers, amateur fighters. So I don't think he's going to see anything different against Rigo. But I'm not taking anything away from Rigo. I mean, that's what makes this a great fight. They're both high-level fighters, and it'll be really interesting to see them both against the highest level of competition either one of them has faced, and to sort of solidify who was the best amateur.
A simple pivot actually handles a guy who's moving. That's why Jay Dill was talking about Mayweather versus Pacquiao in that respect, not in terms of stance or anything. But what I want to say, I'm maintaining distance. The thing is, Rigo has to keep this kid off of him. Lomachenko, he has to get in close, mid-range to close in on you to pivot and get those shots off. You can't do it from outside.
Because Lomo is not really a long-distance kind of guy.
No, he's not. So
Rigo is.
But Rigo has to get him to respect that distance. And if he doesn't have that pop, and Loma's not an easy guy to hit because he uses head movement. So if he doesn't get him with something early to set the tone for the fight, like Mayweather did with Pacquiao, you know, it's a downhill slide from there. It could become that.
I know everybody else is basically picking Lomo with the exception of J. Dill. Taisha, you got any response?
No, not really. Rigo all the way, baby.
Everything in me is wanting to pick Rigo. My problem is his age, not necessarily the lack of size, but his age. He'll be 35 this year.
Probably older. Probably older.
Yeah, you know, he could be lying about his age.
You don't know what that really
and B-Hop is 60.
50.
I know. I know he's only 50, but I'm just making a point. B-Hop is 60, and he's a lot heavier.
But B-Hop doesn't chain smoke like Rigo does.
See, I didn't know Rigo smoked, but
Yes,
you know,
he does.
I don't get inside their personal stuff like that. I'm talking about what's inside the ring. But I hear you.
Rigo is a tremendous athlete, and I've seen some things of him. Like, for a guy I've never seen a guy so short basically just take one vertical leap and land in the ring without using steps. Now that's the athlete for you. But he's also a chain smoker.
I have a question for you. The more you guys are higher up there in the boxing things than I am. Of the four, Lomachenko's had 4 professional fights, right? Or is it 5? 4 or 5? Okay,
4 or
5.
5, yeah,
so
4.
of the 5 people that he fought, I remember 3. I think was it Salido first, where he lost, right? Okay. The black guy, I can't think of his name. Russell. He smacked the shit out of Russell. And then I don't even know who the other guy was in the middle of that.
Yeah, I think he fought 2 guys since then.
Okay, so of those 5 fights that he had, who was the toughest of those fights? And of the person who you guys choose as the toughest, how do they compare against Rigo? As in skill level is what I want to know.
Styles make fights though.
And no, hold on, look, no. I'm asking you because I want to know. I don't know this. This is not a trolling question.
This is not a trick
I'm asking you. I'm asking you because I want to know how does this person who was his toughest battle of his 5 pro fights match up with his potential fight against Rigo? I understand style makes fights. I understand that.
I'll answer that question for you. Salido was the toughest, but he gave him so much trouble because of experience one level, because Salido was so damn big and physical that Lomo really didn't adjust until late in the fight.
And he's dirty too.
Yeah, well, Salido's a dirty fighter. We know that.
Right.
And Salido came in way heavy. He missed the weight.
Yeah, he was wasn't he like 2 weight classes ahead or something?
Yeah, Salido outweighed him by at least 10 pounds, close to 15 to 20. So.
Okay, I was just curious to know of the 5 fights that he has, of the skill level of those fighters outside of Russell. I mean, we know Russell has tremendous speed, but in my opinion, that's the pretty much gist of what he has is that speed.
He was a good amateur.
So,
but the difference between Russell and Rigondeaux, Taisha, is the fact that Rigondeaux, he moves his feet more.
Very patient fighter.
Very more patient than Russell was. He has faster hands. I think he's better defensively. And the diversity of his punches going up and down is better. And he's a much better counter puncher than Gary Russell. So again, a total higher level than Gary Russell. That's why I try not to make the comparison. That's why I said earlier when I think Sean mentioned somebody mentioned Gary Russell, you can't make the comparison. 2 different fighters, 2 higher levels. Rigondeaux is a higher class than Gary Russell. It's
I
not even
think
close,
this is
really.
going to be a better fight than what everyone thinks it's going to be. They think most people think Lomachenko is going to just basically have his way with Rigondeaux, and I don't really see it happening. I don't think Rigondeaux is just going to lay down for that. I think he's going to have that, that champion heart, and he's going to go for, what he does best.
Okay, let's make it. We're pressing for time here, so I'm gonna go to Sean with this one specifically. This last news topic. Shizuki Yamanaka, Sean, who we talked about many times on this show before. He's gonna be fighting on paper the toughest bout of his career so far against Alcemo Moreno. Won't happen later on this year in Japan. Fight should have happened a couple of years ago when Moreno was champion. But quickly, Sean, your thoughts on this bout between Yamanaka and Moreno?
It's good that he's fighting a top caliber fighter. It's a shame that it's Alcemo Moreno, who, his style of fighting is a lot more boring, a lot more of a boxing, moving, and not sort of get involved fighter. So you can see a lot of chasing going on that night. The Japanese fighter Yamanaka is going to be spending a lot of time trying to cut off the ring to land his big shots against the guy who's going to be like jabbing, move, jabbing, move. I would love to have seen Regal fight Yamanaka. That would be a fight. And in this case, nobody would be talking about weight because they would both be about 122, 123 on fight night. And they're both dominant champions at their weights. But it's happy to see Yamanaka in with a top-level fighter. But like you say, it's too bad it wasn't 2 years ago when he was a champion and he hadn't just been beat. Like he wasn't beat last year by...
Payago, whatever the guy's name was.
So, I wish he was sort of fighting the guy that beat Alcemo Moreno. But nonetheless, I mean, it's good to get out there and stay busy. He's been fighting more this year, and now he's fighting a named fighter that people recognize. So that's good. I'm looking forward to it. I think Gail wants to go on about Chavez.
All I want to do is rant. Honest to God, everybody knows what I think about Chavez Jr. He's a joke. I'll stop it right there. It's going to be ugly. I wish Marco Reyes all the best. Chavez Jr. is going to run through yet another trainer. He's going to talk. His pre-fight interviews are absolutely delusional. Now I'm starting to wonder how much weed he's really been smoking. My God, a truckload the way he's talking. And, he is unfortunately going to go down as one more spoiled brat who, didn't commit ever, doesn't commit to the work, had all the natural skills in the world, all the advantages, and, leg up through his father's connections in the world. He's the guy that's, wakes up, starts on third base, and, thinks he hit a triple. I mean, he's the classic case. It's embarrassing. Everyone went along with what he wanted to do in respect to his father. At this point, they don't even care. The latest to tee off on him was Nacho Beristain, who finally said he completely lacks commitment and he shouldn't be in there.
What do you really say?
Yeah. So I hope he gets pounded into the ground. Rant over.
I get high.
I want to see that pink panty wearing pussy ever again. Not in the club, not in the ring.
LOL.
Nowhere.
You don't want to see him in against Ward?
Fuck no. I don't even want to see that. I really don't. I don't. The Fonfara fight, I was ringside for that fight, and it was a jaw dropper. It was a jaw dropper. And he was there in front of as friendly a crowd as he could possibly have at the StubHub. And after that fight, they probably threw 10 gallons of beer in 16-ounce cups into the ring at him. They were so pissed. It was ridiculous.
He did step up in weight, though. 2 weight classes up from what he fought at.
Are you kidding me? That guy could fight it. That guy couldn't. He could never make weight. He could fight at cruiserweight without blinking. I mean, seriously, that guy did not step up in weight. all he did was, not have to peel it off for the fight this time, like he normally does. He's come in overweight several times.
Hey, what you need?
Because he's a party animal.
Hey, what you need? We might disagree, but I love you, man. I got much love.
Oh, it's a good. We're a tight little group. We love.
I'm just saying that he went up 2 weight classes to fight a legitimate contender. This is a dude that fought Adonis Stevenson. It's kind of like trying to make Tony Harrison win a fight against Willie Nelson, but it's bigger because he jumped 2 weight classes to do it. He never fought at that weight class before. So, I mean,
officially,
I'm not saying that he hasn't muddied the water in terms of him, people not liking him, and this performance that he took this challenge and he failed at it. So I guess a lot of people are going to be mad at him, but he did jump up 2 weight classes. I think he's gone down now to super middleweight. Excuse me for 1 minute.
I'm gonna chime in real quick. It's about to be 12 o'clock on my side, so I'm gonna have to hang out and say goodbye to you guys. It was real, as always. Take care,
see you
everybody.
later. I'm going to say the same. It's 5 a.m. here, so yeah.
I think we've beat it all to death. Let's do our contact info and get the hell out.
JDill, YouTube. You can also find me on Andrew Senior's platform, Out of Control Troll 2's platform. You can also find me on Sevier Sports TV platform. And this platform, you also can find me on Facebook, Twitter. On Twitter is at Light7Joe or JDill Patriots. And you could just find me in any form of boxing, because that's how much I love the sport and I'm interactive. So don't be shy. Hit me up.
Next, Boxing Addict.
Okay, let's go. So you can get me at Mr. Boxing Addict on Twitter and YouTube. That's it.
Sean.
I'm everywhere around boxing, so me commenting. I love boxing, so it's not hate, it's just interest. So.
Love it.
My man, sure, my man. Yeah, I'm what you need, and you can always check out my videos. I always try and give an interesting perspective into what happens in boxing.
And I am Gail Falkenthal, PR Pro San Diego is my Twitter handle, and also where I'm on Periscope, which I'm playing around with a little bit. And my column is Ringside Seat in Communities Digital News, which is CommDigi News, CommDigi News.com, where I'll be ripping on Chavez Jr. in my preview tomorrow. And we haven't even talked about Carl Frampton. We haven't even talked about Carl Frampton getting his American debut.
Yes, against Gonzalez.
Terrific. But going to be fun. We will talk about that at length next week, I'm sure.
Second round KO.